He transmigrated into this world, where humans were still primitive, and the idea of daily showers hadn't been invented yet. Women only mated with the strongest to have strong babies, and he quickly became the king of the primitive tribe. Now all the girls wanted to give birth to his child. Time quickly passed in the village. On a full moon night, when he went out to hunt, he spotted something hanging from one of his traps. So he went to check, but since there was no noise, it didn't seem like a wild beast. He quickly went to see what it was with his sharp axe, and he was surprised by what he saw. It was his friend who had fallen into his trap. She was in a pretty interesting pose. His eyes lit up with pure abundance. The girl started to get furious and asked if he was just going to stare instead of helping. But he said this was a rare sight while the girl yelled that she was going to kick his ass. The man, on the other hand, asked if she was going to kick him with that tiny foot. And to tease her, he blew on her foot. Then he started massaging it slowly. The elf blushed bright red and made some weird noises. "You better stop playing with fire." In the end, she got even angrier when her people started getting closer. He decided to free her before they saw her hanging there with her legs spread. But this king's life wasn't always that easy. Before the women of the tribe wanted to give birth to his child, he was hunted by the men. So let's go back to the beginning to understand this better. The truth is, he woke up in a strange place. While grabbing water to wash his face, he wondered how he ended up in a place like that. After all, just yesterday he was in the city shopping like normal. Suddenly he heard someone saying something. People were walking toward him talking weird, and he thought they were cosplayers. He quickly asked how to get out of there, but the kid threw a bone at him that grazed right past his ear. He didn't die by a centimeter. And there are still people who say 7 centimeters is small. He quickly started running while the primitives yelled behind him. In his head, they'd never catch him since he used to be a runner. However, another kind of spear sliced along the side of his belly. Suddenly, the system activates, saying he has to survive. He needs to survive for 12 hours to get 1 attribute point and 1 survival pack. But he was already in the hairy guy's sights. He threw the bone with all his strength. The protagonist ran as fast as he could, but it was too late. He got hit square in the neck and quickly lost consciousness. When he woke up, he was already in their village. But for surviving, he got the rewards. So he put the 1 point he got into strength and opened the survival pack. With that, he learned to speak all languages and got a survival book. He also activated the map and could see and mark where he'd already been. And he even got a mountain-splitting axe. He also learned things about the jungle, on top of learning basic medicine. When he looked at the primitives, he could understand the man saying he was the fiercest, while the woman said she wanted to give birth to his child. Child support probably hadn't been invented yet. The protagonist figured this must be a civilization-style game that's still in its early stage, so there's a good chance he'll become a president, or maybe even a god in these lands. He tells the system to put the attribute point into strength and equip the split mountain axe. Once it activates, power surges through him, and Chen easily snaps the rope binding him. But he's quickly noticed by 2 primitive men, Stonebone and Leng Guchui. Stonebone orders the others not to let Chen escape. Then he and Leng Guchui step forward and warn him there's no way out. Full of swagger, Chen shouts back, asking how they dare disrespect their god. Stonebone stares at him and asks what god he's talking about. Seeing Leng Guchui, Chen assumes he's the leader. He declares that heaven sent him to rule them, and since they offended him, punishment is coming. That instantly enrages Stonebone, who charges straight at Chen. Right then, the system gives Chen a new mission: intimidate the primitive people and subdue them to become their leader. Fail, and he loses the split mountain axe. Seeing this, Chen goes tense, because without the axe, he doesn't think he'd last long in a place like this. Refusing to lose, Chen meets Stonebone's attack head-on. The impact is so strong, it cracks the ground around them. Chen is startled by just how powerful these primitive people are. Still, he knows his own body has been strengthened too, so Chen pushes back with full force, and to his surprise, Stonebone's weapon gets cut in half. The entire camp is stunned by the display. Then Chen suddenly senses something has gone very wrong. He has a bad feeling. And he's right. Stonebone yells for everyone to rush Chen at once. Completely dumbfounded, Chen turns and runs, wondering why Stonebone acted like it was a duel, only for the whole group to gang up on one 24-year-old. When one boy lunges at him, Chen slips aside and fires back in one smooth move. Angry, Chen warns them not to push him too far, claiming he could still take down 5 of them before dying and ordering them to back off. He knows if all those barbarians swarm him, he'll be dead in seconds. Then to his surprise, every barbarian suddenly panics and runs away from him. Chen has no idea why. Then his system reveals a side mission: help the primitive people by driving off a ferocious saber-tooth. It has already been accepted automatically. At first, Chen just stares at the mission in confusion, but that disappears the moment he realizes a saber-toothed tiger is standing right behind him. The instant Chen sees it, he runs for his life. The tiger pursues him relentlessly, swiping at him as he flees. Panicked, Chen wonders why everything here seems determined to eat him. He also can't understand why the system would assign a mission like this. He knows one bite from that tiger could take away half his body, and then he suddenly feels its claw rake into him, leaving him badly hurt. Chen realizes a direct fight makes no sense, so he forces himself to calm down and think. Then he spots smoke from the fire and remembers that saber-toothed tigers, like most beasts, fear flames. Chen decides to use that to his advantage. He starts planning a way out, even shouting a challenge at the tiger to face him head-on. When it attacks, Chen tries to slide down and evade it, but to his horror, the beast uses his body like a springboard and leaps off him. Shaken, Chen takes off again, deciding movies have lied to him. Out of options, he dashes toward the bonfire, using plants and nearby cover to make it there alive. By dodging and hiding, Chen finally gets close to the fire. He snatches up a burning stick and waves it at the tiger, trying to scare it off. To his relief, the beast really is afraid of the flames. Chen calls for it to come fight, but deep down, he's praying it just retreats. Then he hears a strange sound and tenses, wondering if some even bigger monster is coming. As another beast's roar echoes out, the saber-toothed tiger stiffens in fear and bolts. Watching it flee, Chen wonders what could have scared it that badly, and if it's running, what should he do next? Then the system announces the mission is complete and rewards him with 2 attribute points. Hearing the sounds again, Chen decides his safety comes first and gets out of the area. He tells the system to add 1 point to strength and 1 to agility. With his speed boosted, he sprints back toward the primitive people. Chen can immediately feel how much faster and lighter he is. Seeing him alive, Stonebone is stunned and asks how the saber-toothed tiger didn't eat him. Chen just smiles and says the beast was nothing more than a kitty to him. He beat it so badly it ran off in fear. After that, Chen grins, hoping the primitive people will finally admire him. Then Chen gets another mission: help them build homes, form a tribe, and raise the population to 50 within 18 days. He counts the group and realizes there are only 15 people total, children included. To reach 50, Chen concludes he'll have to absorb other tribes into theirs. That night, everyone else falls asleep, but Chen can't. He's starving. So he decides to look for food himself. He notices the primitives are bold enough to sleep without posting any guard at all. Still, his stomach growls again and food takes priority. He remembers the roasted lamb from earlier, but hesitates, uneasy. If something could frighten a saber-toothed tiger, then something truly terrifying must be nearby. Chen tries to reassure himself. He has to find food no matter what, and hopefully he won't run into that monster. So, axe in hand, he heads toward the place where he saw the roasted lamb before. After a while, Chen cautiously reaches the area. He moves in carefully, alert for any danger. As he gets closer, he notices other prey animals nearby too. Now that he's the leader, Chen knows he can't think only about himself, so he gathers up the other prey as well. But on the way back, a strange feeling hits him, and suddenly he falls into a pit. Furious, Chen shouts about who dug a hole there. Then he looks closer and realizes it isn't a pit at all. It's a massive footprint left by some monster or giant beast, something almost like a dinosaur. Then Chen thinks that after seeing the saber-toothed tiger, he really should have understood this place isn't just primitive, but a whole era filled with history's most terrifying and deadly creatures. Knowing he can't waste time, Chen decides he must quickly find a safe place for everyone. The next morning, the primitives are fighting over food. Fed up, Chen yells at them to stop snatching from each other. He realizes they still know nothing about modesty or saving resources, and there's a lot he needs to teach them. Chen announces that the current food will first go to the hunters who joined him that day. Stonebone points out that they usually hunt in turns, and yesterday's group was him, Agan, and Huangshu. Today, he says, it's Luting, Heizhu Jiao, and Lengu Chui's turn. Stonebone adds that everyone wants to go if their king is going. The others agree, but Chen notices the boy Sam, the same one who attacked him before. Chen figures Sam might be scared he's still holding a grudge, so he decides to find a way to cheer him up. Chen tells everyone that anyone who wants can come with him. He's going to search for a place to build their home. Hearing that, a girl named Mia steps forward and asks what a home is. Chen explained that a home was where they'd live together as one tribe, a place that, like tree roots, would feed and protect both this family and the generations after them. Mia lit up, rushed over, and hugged Chen, asking if she could live with her king. Chen smiled and told her yes. Before long, everyone would be one big family living together. Mia got so excited she blurted out that the king wanted to live with her and have children. Stonebone then asked Chen where this home would be built. Chen called everyone over and explained that they had to find open ground with mountains to the north and rivers to the south, somewhere with water for drinking and irrigation, grazing and fodder for livestock, plus firewood and stone for building. It would also be safer, with seeds and timber nearby for farming and houses. Then Chen decided the settlement should be close to the sea as well, since a river delta would offer rich soil and later on, a good place to learn seafaring. Sam spoke up, saying he knew a place just like that. Pleased, Chen asked if Sam could guide them there. Sam said it wasn't far, but warned against going. There was a herd of cows there, and they were dangerous. That only puzzled Chen. Why fear cows when they meant plenty of meat and useful resources? So he decided the herd would become their prey, and told everyone to prepare. They were heading east toward their future home. The scene shifted to the place Sam had led them to. Sam assured Chen the route was safe, so they could move ahead without concern. Chen told them not to waste time, and said they shouldn't fear the saber-toothed tiger. It had already been driven off, and if it returned, he'd protect them. Sam explained that once they reached the mountaintop, they'd be able to see where the cows gathered. At the summit, Sam nervously told everyone to hide. The cows were below. Chen immediately wondered if some other monster was nearby too. Then he caught the scent of the sea and asked his system to open the map. What he saw pleased him. The area looked perfect for building a city. Out of nowhere, Sam yanked him back and motioned for silence, warning that the herd might hear them. After a while, Chen checked his manual and found 3 plants and 2 animals in the area ahead. The plants were green sunflower grass, dragon wine, and big sabaki, while the animals were gray squirrels and pincer wasps. Since there was still no information on the cow herd, Chen asked Sam exactly where they were. Sam said the herd stayed in a small forest by the river bend, then offered to lead them closer. Half an hour later, they reached the forest, where Sam warned that one more step might alert the cows. Chen found the silence strange and couldn't understand why Sam was this worried about cows. Then his scan suddenly changed, and he tensed up, thinking giant monsters were nearby. To his relief, there was only one animal in the area. Chen asked Sam if he'd remembered wrong, but before Sam could answer, Chen saw a tree move. Sam told him to look up, and when Chen did, he froze in shock, wondering what kind of monster he was seeing. The system identified it as an iron-black horn cow. Hiding behind cover, Stonebone nervously asked if they were really planning to hunt that thing. Chen, just as tense, said yes, and ordered them to set an ambush while he went to evaluate it himself. The others stared at Chen in awe, thinking he was unbelievably cool. But behind the tree, Chen was nearly in tears, wondering how things had come to this. He didn't want the tribe to die, so now he'd have to trust his agility stat. He took another look and realized even the cow's forelimbs were bigger than he was, so he tried to find the right moment. Keeping calm, Chen tried greeting it, but the instant it saw him, its face twisted and it roared. The moment he moved closer, the entire herd charged after him. Chen splashed across the river, yelling for them to stop chasing him. Back with the tribe, they misunderstood completely, believing their king was bravely drawing the whole herd away to protect them. As they whispered among themselves, Chen hurled himself off a ridge without hesitation and landed on it. Suddenly, the ridge shook, and Chen wondered what had just happened. Looking down, he saw one of the cows had slammed into the mountain because it couldn't stop. That gave Chen an idea for bringing the whole herd down, because he'd realized the cows couldn't climb that high. When he looked back, Chen wondered what to do next. He couldn't climb down with those enraged cows waiting below, so he had no choice but to keep going up. Chen climbed higher, and when he reached the top, the view left him stunned. It was exactly what he'd been searching for. Right then, he decided he would build an empire on that ideal land. Thrilled, he felt like his journey had truly begun. On the other side, Sam noticed the herd retreating and wondered why and where their king had gone. Stonebone guessed Chen might have been crushed under the cows, so he climbed a tree to look, planning to recover Chen's axe if nothing else. But the instant he got onto the tree, Chen's axe came flying in and stuck beside him. Stonebone was dumbfounded, and Chen mocked him for being bold enough to assume his king was dead. Sam and the others were relieved the moment they saw Chen alive. Stonebone then asked whether the cows were really that strong. Chen said he planned to use cow meat to strengthen his body, then asked if they wanted to try some too. Stonebone and Sam both refused. They said they couldn't beat those cows, and even if they somehow did, they still wouldn't eat the meat. Chen snapped, asking if they'd ignored him. He only wanted an answer. Frightened, they all quickly said yes. They wanted to eat it. Chen said he would teach them how to make weapons and how to hunt with them. He planned to return in 3 days and take down the cows. In the next scene, Chen split a tree in half with a single slash. Everyone was stunned by his strength, but Stonebone stepped up and asked why he'd cut the tree down when it didn't even bear fruit. Chen explained they'd use it to make weapons, so everyone should watch closely. He then taught them how to turn wooden poles into spears. While crafting, Chen noticed he had a bonus to his technology attribute. To demonstrate how spears worked in a hunt, Chen showed them how to throw one. The tribe was amazed. Before this, they'd only ever gathered wood and never imagined it could become something so deadly. Excited, they all said they wanted to try the spears themselves. Chen told Stonebone to go first. While Stonebone practiced, Chen kept making more spears. Within a few hours, the whole tribe was training with them. As they practiced, Chen called Liu Teng and Heiju over and told them to attack him together. The two rushed him in a fury, but Chen slipped past both attacks with ease. Then he countered and knocked out Heiju. Enraged, Liu Teng charged again, and this time managed to draw a little blood. Everyone stared in shock. Chen told Liu Teng that if the spear's sharp end had been used, he'd already be dead. Liu Teng shouted that their king was like a god. They could never beat him. Chen explained they were relying on raw strength instead of skill. The spear's real advantage was its point. They needed to use the sharp tip precisely against enemies or prey. Then he told them to start by practicing throws. He set up a target and had them throw from a distance. They all took turns, but not one of them could hit it. Chen started thinking maybe none of them had any talent, and that he judged them too quickly. Then, out of nowhere, a spear struck the target. Chen blinked in surprise, and the others were just as shocked that someone had actually landed a hit. He turned and saw Huang Shi standing there. Chen asked if he'd thrown it, and Huang Shi simply asked whether he had won. Chen said yes and gave him 2 spears as a reward. Suddenly, someone rushed over to report that a beast was approaching. Chen ordered everyone to prepare for battle, but inside, he was pleased. This hunt would give them real experience. A beast burst from the forest and roared at them. Chen charged it at once, shouting that it would be their dinner tonight. As the fight began, Chen told everyone to follow his commands, surround the beast and wait for his signal. He attacked first, and somehow the beast's speed began to slow. Chen called for Stonebone and Huang Shi to throw their spears from behind. As they struck, the beast flew into a rage and smashed Chen backwards, forward, snapping his spear. He knew he had to move fast, but before he could, Huang Shi launched a spear that hit the beast square in the mouth. Chen was impressed by Huang Shi's precision. Soon everyone else started hurling spears too, and Sam waited above them, perched in a tree. Under that barrage, the beast tried to run, but Chen cut it off and shouted for Sam to strike. Sam sprang down at the beast and drove his spear into its head. That only sent the beast into a berserk frenzy. The sight of it made everyone tense. Sam was suddenly in danger, still gripping the spear he'd used. Chen sprinted in and leaped up, bringing down his axe. A blast rang out and the whole area disappeared into smoke. Everyone shouted anxiously, wondering if their king was alive. When the smoke cleared, Chen told them to stop yelling, joking that they sounded like they were summoning spirits. Then he praised their performance and announced they'd eat well that night, which instantly thrilled everyone. Chen gave Sam special praise for doing so well, then told Huang Shi he was the hunt's MVP. From now on, Huang Shi would join him on hunts, and Chen would give him new weapons to test. The scene shifted again sometime later. Stonebone bragged to the other tribespeople about how he'd helped Chen bring down the beast. As Mia passed by carrying a piece of meat, Stonebone called out and asked her to hand it over. Mia refused, saying the meat had been set aside for their king. She offered it to Chen instead, and he asked if they were really going to eat it raw. Mia looked at him and asked what was wrong with that. Chen said he remembered them cooking with fire before, so he didn't get why they were eating raw meat now. Mia explained they'd lost the fire source from last time, so they had no option but to eat it uncooked. That made Chen think about how fire marked the start of civilization. It drove off beasts, made shelter safer and more livable, and improved food. He decided the tribe needed one more gift. He would teach these primitive people how to make fire. He picked up a broken spear and worked it against a wooden block to spark a flame. Then he told them to pack wood shavings and tree fluff into a groove in the trunk, then roll the stick between their palms to build friction and start a fire. When the flame appeared, the whole tribe stared in amazement and began praising Chen. Stonebone started yelling that their king had created fire, making sure everyone heard. Chen immediately grabbed him and snapped at him to be quiet. Keeping a low profile mattered. Right after that, Chen got a reward, 10 technology points, and he realized those points were actually pretty easy to earn. At first he had no idea what they were for, but after checking, he learned technology points could identify hereditary plaques, with each identification costing 10 points. While Chen was still thinking about that, Sam came over and said that while dividing the meat, he noticed signs the wild boar had been nursing. That made him suspect cubs were nearby, and after searching the area, he actually found them. At once, Chen got a side quest: pen up the boar cubs and domesticate them. The system asked whether he wanted to accept. Chen sent Mia and Sam together to bring the cubs back. He warned them to be careful and not injure the little boars. He wanted every one of them alive. Mia grabbed Sam's hand and the two ran off toward the cubs. Chen decided to build a pigsty before they returned, so he called for Stonebone to come after eating. He had work for him. Then the scene shifted to evening, with Stonebone hauling branches and asking his friends why their king wanted so many. When they got back to the den, Stonebone saw everyone making something unfamiliar. Puzzled, he asked Huang Shu what it was. Huang Shu said the king called it grass rope, and it was stronger than the vines they usually used. He also explained how to make it. First they had to smooth the straw, then braid it into rope by crossing the strands. Stonebone only got more annoyed, because he still had no clue what was happening. Chen told him to stop standing around and bring the branches over. Then he had everyone pick up the branches and tie on the grass ropes in a set pattern. They needed to build at least 5 wooden frames. After that, Chen told them to set the frames into pits he'd dug, then lash the tops together so they formed a cage shape, covering it neatly with straw. The moment it was finished, the whole tribe rushed into the pigsty and started fighting over it, each wanting to live there and bear the king's children. Chen stiffened at the sight and told them the pigsty wasn't for them. Just then, Sam and Mia came back carrying the cubs. Chen told Sam to place the boar cubs inside the pigsty. Hearing that, Stonebone ran to Chen in tears, shouting that he couldn't do such a thing. He kept protesting, asking how a nest that good could be wasted on wild boars. Aegon clung to Chen too, agreeing with Stonebone. They all wanted to live in that nest. Stonebone added that they wanted a home where they could cuddle with the king. Chen furiously shoved them away, saying he had no interest in cuddling with a man. Then he said he didn't care if they wanted the pigsty now, but once proper houses were built, neither of them would get a spot. Aegon froze, then quickly said that if a better nest existed, he was fine living somewhere else, and Chen could let Stonebone have this one. Stonebone refused too. Chen ignored the whining and told Sam to put all the boars inside the pigsty. Huang Shu came over and asked why they were raising wild boars if the animals were supposed to be food. Chen asked whether they wanted plenty to eat without hunting. Huang Shu eagerly said yes, and Chen explained that if they raised the cubs and bred more piglets, they'd have a steady food supply. That completed the beast-taming quest, and Chen received his reward. When he opened it, he found a packet of salt in the supply chest and also learned a recipe for fried clams. Chen stared at the reward, wondering if the system wanted him to become a chef despite their primitive level of technology. The system hinted that finishing recipe tasks could unlock special rewards, so after seeing that, Chen decided to try cooking. Late that night, everyone else was asleep. Only Chen and Sam were still awake. Chen praised Sam for working hard every day. Sam said that since he'd caused trouble when they captured him, he felt it was only right to endure more. Chen laughed, hugged him, and assured Sam he wasn't holding any grudge. Then he asked whether any other tribes like theirs lived nearby. Sam said they had met a few, but none were friendly, and they looked quite different from his own people. Chen asked him to explain where those tribes were. Sam said he knew of 3 nearby clans: the Coconut Grove clan, the Bay clan, and the Giant Stone clan. They were all fairly far away. Reaching any of their territories took at least a full day and night of travel. Chen asked for details on each group. Sam began with the Coconut Grove clan, around 30 or 40 people, not fond of fighting, good at long-distance travel, and led by a powerful woman. Next was the Bay clan, also 30 or 40 strong, but much more intimidating. According to Sam, they were always fighting among themselves. Finally, he described the Giant Stone clan, the strongest of the 3 and the most numerous. They usually lived on a mountain to the southwest and only came down sometimes. Sam added that he'd heard the Giant Stone clan's leader had divine power and could kill a tiger barehanded. After hearing all that, Chen figured that if Sam's information was right, the Coconut Grove clan would be the best first group to absorb. The others sounded too troublesome and volatile, so he'd need a peaceful way to bring them in. Then, sensing someone behind him, Chen turned and found Mia hugging him from the back. She asked why he wasn't asleep and whether he wanted to do something exciting with her. Tensing up, Chen gave a firm no. Mia sat down in an odd pose and asked if she looked like a kitty. Chen got even more nervous and quickly grabbed Sam by the hand, saying Sam seemed to need help with something. He'd talk to her later. Then he ran off with him. Mia looked a little hurt by his reaction. The next morning, the scene shifted again. Chen and Sam were waiting by the seaside for the Bay clan to show up. Before long, the Bay clan arrived at the shore to hunt a dodo bird. Chen was glad they'd finally appeared after a night of waiting, but then he noticed the Bay clan members starting to fight each other over the bird. He wondered if his tribe could absorb the Bay clan, not just to grow in numbers, but to secure resources like dodo birds. Sam pointed out that their tribe had less than half the Bay clan's numbers, so they couldn't win a direct fight. Chen figured stronger weapons might change that. But first they had to deal with the herd of cows. After that, those new resources could help them craft even better weapons and gear. With that, they headed back to the den, and everyone brightened as soon as Chen returned. Stonebone said they'd thought their king had abandoned them. Chen apologized for worrying everyone and told them they still had plenty to do. He ordered Stonebone to keep practicing spear throwing and put Huangshu in charge of training the others, giving him 1 day to make them as skilled as possible. Then Mia came over holding a leaf, saying it was very comfortable to use after going to the bathroom. Chen replied that he actually needed help sharpening wooden spears, so Mia should gather the women and collect rocks. Sometime later, Mia returned with the other women, each carrying stones. She asked if these rocks would work. Chen said yes, then explained that they needed to grind the stones on a whetstone until they formed a sharp edge or point. After that, tie the sharpened stone to a wooden shaft with rope, and just like that, they'd made a stone-tipped weapon. The women were impressed, but Chen got annoyed when the reward for it turned out to be only 1 point. He then told them to keep following his instructions and show him what they made. Mia quickly called Chen over, saying she had already finished one. When he looked, he saw she'd made a double-edged axe, and he praised her. Delighted, Mia smiled, and at that moment, Chen unlocked a hidden feature called Talent Discovery. When he checked Mia, the system showed that she had talent in toolmaking. Mia noticed him staring and shyly asked why he was looking at her like that. Chen ignored the question and told the women to make as many spears and axes as possible. Little by little, they produced 30 spears and axes in total, and Chen praised Mia for making over half of them. Then he noticed her hands were scraped and scratched from grinding stone. When Chen showed concern, Mia blushed. At once, the other girls crowded in and asked if he cared about them too. Chen said it wasn't what they thought, but they had already gotten very close to him. He hurriedly fled, announcing that was enough work for today and everyone could rest. Then he headed toward the men's training area to check on their practice. A wooden log suddenly flew at Chen. He dodged it just in time and realized it was part of the tribe's training. Huangshu had clearly been teaching them well. Chen asked how they were doing, and Huangshu said everyone had improved a lot. They could now hit targets with ease. Chen's talent discovery showed Huangshu was a throwing master. Huangshu added that Lu Ting was very strong but mistimed his throws and only brought out his full power besides Stonebone. He also noted that Lengu Chui was the first to fully master the technique. What shocked him most was Huangshu and Stonebone's teamwork. Alone they were average, but together they alternated 4 spears at a time and scored the best results. Chen was pleased. At this rate, dealing with the herd of black bulls should be easy. Stonebone asked if he was certain. Chen said yes, but to be safe, they'd bring their secret weapon too. Huangshu blinked in surprise and asked what secret weapon he meant. Chen pulled out several black leaves, told everyone to look carefully, and ordered them to gather as many as possible. He warned them not to touch the leaves with open cuts. The plant carried a natural paralytic. That night, Chen began pounding a stone into shape. Mia arrived with all the spears and asked why he'd carved a shallow hollow into the rock. Chen said it was a mortar, and she'd soon see why. He told her to gather the women and use the stone club to crush the leaves inside, then smear the paste onto the wooden spear tips. Lu Ting came over, saying the men also wanted to help with the club. Chen told them to rest instead. He'd need their strength for the hunt in the morning. Sometime later, Chen sat eating grilled meat and sprinkling salt over it. Mia suddenly tossed a spear toward him, letting him know the coating was finished. Chen got up, told the women to stay behind and guard the camp and children, then ordered everyone else to follow him to the mountain. The tribe lit up with excitement and grabbed their weapons. They were ready to show those beasts what they could do. After a while, they reached the mountaintop. Aegon asked if it was really okay for their king to act as bait alone. He was clearly worried about the danger. Stonebone answered that their king was incredibly strong, so he should be fine. Sam cut in and told everyone to get ready. Something was moving near the river. Stonebone told Mia and the other women to pass out spears on time, especially to Sam, once they were in position on the mountain. Their king was risking everything, and losing him wasn't an option. So here's what had happened. 10 minutes earlier, Chen had been wandering near the Black Bulls, thinking that fleeing to Stone Mountain, like last time, was still the best route. But to stay cautious, he decided to lure a smaller one first. He walked up to a smaller bull and hurled a stone at it. Then he loudly declared himself the gang's leader and dared it to come fight him. The Black Bull instantly flew into a rage, and, out of nowhere, 3 bulls charged after Chen. As he ran, Chen shouted for Stonebone to target the first Black Bull. Stonebone immediately ordered everyone to prepare. Then the spears flew all at once. It worked. The Black Bulls were hit and wounded. Using that opening, Sam threw spears straight at their necks. The bulls crashed against the mountain, and Chen leaped for a ledge to climb higher, but his hand slipped. At the last second, Stonebone caught him and pulled him to safety. Chen ordered everyone to keep attacking while the bulls were weakened, so the assault continued. Stonebone stepped up and started directing the strikes. Watching him, Chen noticed real leadership talent and understood why Stonebone was so good at commanding others. He realized Stonebone was worth grooming into a true leader. Stonebone soon returned and reported that the bulls seemed to be calming down. Chen was pleased. The tranquilizer was working faster than expected. Then, Sam shouted that the rest of the herd was charging toward them too. Chen was startled by how fast they were. Still, he told everyone not to panic. This was part of the plan. They only needed to finish the 3 below and make sure none escaped. The Black Bulls tried backing away, but they were moving slowly. Realizing the poison had kicked in, Chen told everyone to target their legs and keep them from fleeing. Stonebone then ordered everyone to throw, and the 3 bulls finally collapsed to the ground. Chen told them to stop, but Stonebone argued this wasn't the time for softness. They had to deal with these 3 before the others arrived. Chen asked how many spears were left. Mia answered that they still had 28. Then Chen told Sam to count the incoming herd, and Sam estimated around 20 bulls. Chen said that was exactly why he'd called a halt. They didn't have many spears to waste. Huangshu asked if that meant abandoning all the effort they'd spent on the 3 Black Bulls. Chen said no. This was still part of the plan. He'd never intended for a small squad to fight the whole herd head-on. From the start, the true goal was the leader. Once that boss went down, the rest would scatter. To draw it out, they needed bait. That's why those Black Bulls had to stay alive and couldn't be allowed to escape. Chen added that he'd originally planned to use just 1 bull, but the extra 2 had cost them far more spears than expected. Suddenly, Sam yelled that he could see the Black Bull's leader, and it looked like a giant monster. The boss roared, and the whole herd began charging toward the mountain to ram it. At first, Chen and the others wondered, had the bulls gone insane? But Chen quickly realized the boss had no intention of fighting yet. Then they felt it. The mountain itself was starting to collapse. Chen yelled for everyone to run back and find cover, but Mia couldn't get away in time and fell as the mountainside broke apart. Without hesitation, Chen jumped down after her and called for Aegon to follow. Heizhu Jiao and Lengu Chui came down too to help. Now there was no choice but to fight. Heizhu Jiao asked Aegon if they should charge the bulls, but Aegon told him not to act recklessly and wait for their leader's order. Chen, meanwhile, was tense. He realized the bull boss had already seen through his trap. That intelligence frustrated him. Stonebone told those still on the mountain to go protect their leader, but Chen shouted for them to stop. They needed to stay above and attack with spears. Then the battle truly began. Chen fought with his axe, while the others wielded spears and stone axes. By working together, defending and striking the bulls in coordinated waves, they managed to wound many of them. Stonebone seized the moment and urged the people above to rain spears down on the herd. A few bulls dropped, and suddenly the whole herd stopped as the boss seemed to say something to them. To Chen's surprise, the bulls began pulling back. He wondered if they'd been ordered to retreat, so the boss could fight alone. Then rain started pouring down, and the bull boss stepped forward, inhaled deeply, and blasted flames from its mouth. Chen immediately shouted for everyone to scatter and dodge. The blast was so strong it tore a hole in the mountain, even opening a path to the top. The tribe was horrified. No one could tell if it was a roar or some shockwave, but the impact crushed their morale in seconds. Seeing that, Chen ordered Agun to take Mia and the others north, while he drew the boss bull's attention himself. He told Stonebone to wait for his signal and face the bull boss, declaring that he would be its opponent. They clashed head-on, with Chen trying to hold it back, but the boss bull easily hurled him aside. Chen considered using the path the monster had blasted open, but the bull boss chased him and slammed into the mountain, triggering a huge explosion. Everyone watching went tense, afraid their leader was dead. Even so, they refused to retreat and resolved to fight to the end. Then suddenly, Chen's axe flashed out and struck the boss bull in the head. He was still alive. He'd survived by using the hole blasted through the mountain moments earlier. Chen even mocked the boss for sparing him. Inside, though, he knew he was badly hurt. When they saw Chen alive, the tribe let out a wave of relief. But Chen shouted to Stonebone to be ready and wait for his command. The fight went on, with Agun and Heizhu Jiao trying to distract the boss so Chen could strike from behind. Aegon bravely leaped in, only to be caught and wounded by the beast's horn. Chen rushed forward and slashed at the bull boss's face, freeing Aegon from the horn's tip. The boss unleashed another burst of flame, but everyone dodged, and Chen answered with a clean hit. The strike opened a wound in the monster's body. Chen immediately yelled for Stonebone and Sam to aim their spears at that wound. They hit the mark, and the boss bull staggered before crashing to the ground. For a moment, everyone wondered if they'd finally won and started celebrating. But Chen stayed uneasy. Even with their leader down, the rest of the herd just stood there, waiting. Then, out of nowhere, the boss bull rose again and lunged at Chen, unleashing a furious stream of flame. Stonebone and Huang Shi were stunned by the sight, and Chen tensed too, realizing he'd let his guard down for a fatal moment. Now, the bull boss tore the spear from its own body and hurled it straight at Chen. Wounded and too slow to move, Chen thought this might be the end. Then, to his shock, Mia stepped between them and took the spear herself. Chen froze in disbelief, a flood of memories with Mia flashing through his mind. A burst of pure rage suddenly flooded through Chen. Even as the system warned his body was overloading, Chen ignored it and lunged straight at the bull. He brought his blade down with everything he had, cleaving the bull boss from head to tail. This time, the monster was truly split in two by Chen's full-powered strike. Consumed by fury, Chen roared at the remaining bulls to come at him, challenging any beast that wanted to die to step forward. But as the herd glanced at one another, Chen took one step ahead, and they broke, retreating in panic. Once they fled, Chen finally relaxed, but his system immediately warned that his life was in danger. A moment later, he coughed up blood and started to black out, sinking slowly. Everyone rushed over, but before passing out, Chen looked to Mia and told them to fetch the hemostatic ointment and apply it. Several days later, in a pigsty, Chen finally woke from his unconscious state. Opening his eyes, he found Ayu standing before him. His first question was whether this was the pigsty he had built, but Ayu shook her head. After driving off the bulls, they had moved here, and this shed was made for him. She told him to stay down while she went to tell everyone he was awake. Chen stopped her, asking about Mia and Lang Guchui first. Ayu said they found Lang Guchui barely alive, but he recovered fast. Since waking, he'd been standing guard outside Chen's shelter. Mia was hurt more badly, she added, but the king's divine medicine saved her. As long as she kept resting, she would recover. Everyone else was fine too. Relieved, Chen heard Ayu add that over the past 4 days, everyone's condition had stabilized. Chen jolted. What did she mean? 4 days? He checked the system and saw she was right. 4 days were gone, leaving him only 11 days to finish the mission. Ayu, confused, noted that their king often stared into empty air as if lost in thought. He tried to get up and failed. Ayu urged him to rest, but Chen insisted he was fine and told her to summon Stonebone at once. She nodded and hurried out of the shed. Left alone, Chen realized that without any fighting strength or deterrence, if others learned the truth, their mission could collapse instantly. Now that they had relocated, they needed a fence immediately, and later, sturdy wooden walls for real protection. When Stonebone arrived, Chen told him to stay outside, then whispered secret instructions no one else could hear. Stonebone left at once to handle the job Chen assigned, but Chen knew that still wasn't enough. They couldn't repeat the last mistake. This time, every detail had to be foolproof. Next, Chen told Lang Guchui he had another task. Lang Guchui asked him to say what it was, and Chen ordered him to collect the Black Bull King's bones and hide, keeping the hide as intact as possible. To Lang Guchui's surprise, Chen even handed over his own weapon for the job. After they left, Ayu again told Chen to rest. He refused, saying he still needed to speak with her. He asked her to come inside so they could talk in private. Once she entered, Chen explained he'd sent the others away because he had an important mission for her. Ayu immediately agreed, then started taking off her clothes, thinking he wanted something romantic. Flustered, Chen yelled at Ayu to put them back on. Realizing her mistake, Ayu blushed. Chen quickly clarified that he wanted her to stage a performance, because he planned to send someone to negotiate with the Coconut Grove clan and persuade them to submit to Chen's rule. Ayu, tense, asked whether the larger Coconut Grove clan would really agree to join them. Chen said that's exactly why they had to display their strength and push the Coconut Grove clan to submit right away. He gave 2 reasons for choosing Ayu. First, the tribe was ruled by women, so as a woman she could communicate better with them. Second, only she knew his true condition, that his all-out attack had wrecked his body. The ointment stopped it from getting worse, but he still needed proper treatment. Smiling, Ayu asked if they were planning to bluff the Coconut Grove clan into fear. She said she understood exactly what to do, so Chen should just rest and leave it to her. Sometime later, Sam and Ayu were on their way to the Coconut Grove clan. Sam warned that, even if the clan hated conflict, now was not the time to provoke them. Ayu said she understood, and they kept moving. When they finally arrived, Sam pointed out a spring where the Coconut Grove girls were bathing. Then he identified the clan's leader, the one they had come to meet. But while they were talking, some Coconut Grove members spotted them. A little later, Ayu and Sam were brought before Lisa, leader of the Coconut Grove clan. The girls reported that they had caught the pair sneaking around, claiming to be envoys seeking an audience with their leader. Sam protested. They weren't ordinary visitors, but ambassadors appointed by their king. Lisa only mocked them, saying Ayu looked like a slave, and the men brought fish meat scraps that barely fed anyone for a few days. Then she ordered Sam separated from Ayu. Ayu shot back that she'd expected the Coconut Grove Queen to be more farsighted. Since she wasn't, the mountain of meat they meant to offer would go to the Bay clan instead. Lisa stopped her people and told Ayu to continue, then asked if she had really said a mountain of meat. Ayu confirmed it, explaining she meant the giant black bulls by the northern river. Lisa asked if they wanted to team up with the Coconut Grove clan to hunt the herd. Ayu laughed and told her not to underestimate them. They had already wiped out the black bulls, and the river area now belonged to them. The Coconut Grove women were stunned, whispering that Ayu had to be lying. Last time, their own clan had nearly been trampled by that same herd. Lisa rose and asked whether Ayu understood what happened to people who lied to her. Ayu didn't flinch. She said even the biggest bull had fallen to their king, and if Lisa doubted it, she could come see for herself. When one girl tried to warn Lisa, Ayu laughed it off, joking that if their king wanted, he could flatten the entire Coconut Grove clan. Sam backed her up, saying they hadn't come to fight. They brought gifts and their king's invitation. Why doubt their sincerity? Ayu then snapped that if the queen was too afraid to come herself, she could at least send someone to collect the meat. That edge in Ayu's voice made Lisa tense, though she still warned them not to try any games. A moment later, Ayu and Sam returned with Lisa and her group. Sam announced that they were back, but Stonebone barked at him not to make such a fuss and go help with the houses instead. Hearing that, one of Lisa's girls asked what these houses were. Ayu then informed Chen that the Coconut Grove clan had arrived. The moment Lisa saw Chen, she stiffened, sensing a fierce killing intent rolling off him, as if she were facing some ancient beast. In truth, Chen had deliberately dressed like a prehistoric monster. He told Ayu she had done well, and his heavy presence only made Lisa more uneasy. Then a sound came from the bushes. It was Mia, Langu Chui, and Ah-gun hiding there. Chen had ordered all the wounded to stay out of sight, but Ah-gun admitted he was just curious what the Coconut Grove Queen looked like. Chen then thanked Lisa and her clan for agreeing to his request and coming all the way to their territory. One Coconut Grove girl immediately demanded to know where the meat was. Chen calmly said it was nearby, and they could take as much as they could carry. When they got there, they froze at the sight of a literal mountain of meat. Heijujian and Lu Teng were already carving it up. One Coconut Grove girl stepped up to take some, but they warned her the meat was extremely tough. She tried to cut it with a wooden stick, and the stick snapped under the strain. Lu Teng and Heijujian burst out laughing. The girl yelled, asking what was so funny, and said they only caught the bulls because the herd was in chaos. Heijujian fired back, asking if she wanted to fight. Just then, Chen's axe crashed into the ground between them, making the Coconut Grove girls jump back in fear. He had thrown it there to break up the argument. Lisa, clearly rattled, asked what kind of weapon that was. It was far better than their ironwood branches and bone knives. Chen told her to use his pangu axe to cut meat for the Coconut Grove clan. Heijujian complained that the girls were the ones who started it, but Chen sharply ordered him to do as told. Grumbling, Heijujian obeyed and muttered that the girls were lucky. Chen told Lisa he'd make sure she could take the meat without any problems. He always kept his word. It was his principle. Nervously, Lisa asked how he had conquered the bull herd. Chen replied that whether she learned through mutual trust or personal experience depended on what happened next. Then he told Lisa to call it a day, take the meat, and leave. Lisa replied that he seemed Lisa called him cold-hearted. Chen, meanwhile, tensed up. His dramatic axe throw had been a bit much, and without the bullhide bandage, his wound would have likely split open again. Then it did. Blood started seeping out, and Chen instantly worried. Thankfully, Ayu distracted Lisa, giving him just enough time to hide the wound. Ayu told Lisa they also had some powerful weapons they could offer the Coconut Grove clan. But Lisa turned back and refused, saying those weapons didn't suit her people. She told Chen the Coconut Grove clan had strong weapons too, ones they hadn't shown him yet, and hoped they'd never need to use them. After that, Lisa ordered her clan members to take what they could and return. Ayu added that if it wasn't enough, they could come back. But sooner was better, since other clans still needed their share. On the way back, Lisa asked how the investigation was going. A few more girls appeared to report. Lisa had secretly stationed them nearby to watch everything from hiding. One of them, Maya, said they saw the men building something called a house, and from inside it, they sometimes heard boar growls, so there might be boars kept there. Lisa was stunned, wondering if Chen had really made such a fine shelter for boars. Maya added that even more shocking, Chen's clan seemed to have mastered the fire god's power. Lisa flatly said that was impossible. Maya explained they had seen fire appear from nothing and used it to roast meat. She hesitated before saying more, but Lisa pressed her to speak plainly. Maya then said Chen's clan had only a little over 10 people altogether, including a few children and old men. Still, she suspected they were deliberately hiding their true numbers. Lisa demanded to know why they hadn't searched more carefully. Maya said the nearby trees had been cut down, so getting closer would have exposed them. They had no choice but to watch from the woods at a distance. Lisa simply replied, "Okay," then suddenly lashed them with her whip. She warned that if they made excuses again, next time the punishment would be far worse than a whipping. Maya bowed and thanked Lisa for showing mercy. Back at Chen's camp, he finally relaxed a little as Ayu came over to ask about his condition. Chen admitted the bull herd had taken a heavy toll on him. He also noticed Ayu had a real gift for talking. Then she asked, half teasing, whether compared to the Coconut Grove Queen, he preferred her. Flustered, Chen quickly told her not to get the wrong idea. He asked Ayu to call in the men hiding outside so they could help him continue recovering, and said Leng Guchui would guard the entrance until he was fully healed. Ayu agreed, then added that he looked really cool. That made Chen awkwardly blush. Just then Sam arrived, saying Chen really was amazing. The Coconut Grove clan had placed watchers around their camp, exactly as he'd predicted. Chen asked about the other task he'd given him. Sam said it was finished. The Coconut Grove clan only saw what Chen wanted them to see, and missed everything they weren't meant to notice. Chen praised his effort, and Sam lit up, saying it was nothing. He was heading off to help Stonebone and the others build the house. After Sam left, Ayu asked whether Chen truly thought the Coconut Grove clan would join them willingly. Chen said it was too soon to tell. The plan was only half complete. Next time the Coconut Grove clan came, they could begin the second half. Chen then went back to his shed to rest and checked his supplies, seeing he had only 11 days left, nowhere near enough time to fully heal. He asked the system to open the warehouse and found only a packet of salt and a single tube of hemostatic ointment left. The system also showed his axe had upgraded into the axe of Pengu. Startled, Chen wondered when that had happened. He grew even more uneasy when he realized he must have missed it after handing the axe to Leng Guchui that morning. Then he checked his spears, and the activation condition on the screen read, Blood Sacrifice. Chen guessed it had triggered when he was wounded during the fight. From the description, using creating the world needed precise timing, neither too soon nor too late. He briefly wondered whether other weapons also had hidden properties like his axe, but gave up on the idea. Each weapon probably had different conditions. Better to leave it to fate. Next, he reviewed the rest of his items and saw the hemostatic ointment was only enough for one more use, so he decided to save it for a truly critical moment. Otherwise, he'd have to depend on the axe to hunt whatever creatures were nearby. He figured the meat taken by the Coconut Grove clan would last 2 days, and with time running short, he had to rely on Sam for now. So he asked Leng Guchui to summon Sam. There was more work to do. After a while, Sam arrived and asked what was wrong. Chen asked if he remembered the black bulls they had driven off, then ordered him to find them within 2 days and report back. Sam took off at once, shouting that he'd return as soon as he found the black bulls. Watching him go, Chen thought everyone was working hard, so he decided to prepare gifts for the clan. While Sam searched for the remaining black bulls, Chen worked on those gifts. After 2 days, he checked the screen and saw only 9 days remained for the mission. He'd also earned technical points for making a stone spearhead, a bone whistle, and a bullhorn water flask. He planned to give the whistle to Stonebone so he could command more easily in battle or during hunts. The stone spearheads would make wooden spears deadlier, improving their odds if the Coconut Grove clan turned hostile. And finally, the bullhorn water flask was for Sam. Then Ayu arrived with good news. The houses were finished. Chen said they should go see the house. When he arrived, Stonebone proudly showed off what they had built. Then Stonebone shouted, asking if it wasn't cool. Chen didn't actually like it much, but for now he answered yes. Everyone cheered. Finally, they no longer had to live in cages or keep searching for branches. While the others celebrated, Chen still felt a little frustrated. Even so, Stonebone fitted the straw door into place, finishing the structure. The moment it was set, Chen gained 10 technical points for building the house. Looking around carefully, he realized the tribe had changed enormously since his arrival. At first, they'd been almost like wild beasts, surviving on raw instinct, fur, and drink. Now their behavior had improved, and their intelligence was becoming much clearer. Chen wondered if all of it came from the system, as if it were speeding up evolution itself. He told them to notify him as soon as Sam returned, then went back to his shed. Before long, Sam came running in, shouting that he'd found them. Chen praised him, then announced that they could finally begin the second half of the plan. He told everyone to follow him, then pulled Stonebone aside, saying he needed a word. A few minutes later, Chen finished explaining the plan and asked whether anyone had questions. Stonebone nervously asked if it would really work and worried about the risk. Sam told him not to stress. He'd handle it. And when the moment came, Stonebone just needed to lead the others. Chen then gave Stonebone the whistle, saying it would make commanding the group much easier. He also told Sam he'd prepared a gift for him and would hand it over after the mission. Sam was thrilled. Finally, Chen smiled and reminded them that once they saw his signal, they had to act immediately. Huangshu, Sam, Stonebone, and Lu Teng all went off to carry out Chen's orders. Chen could only think how badly they were stretched for manpower, leaving him no choice but to assign work even to the injured. So he told Ayu to have Mia and Leng Guchui build a bigger bonfire in front of the wooden house, but not light it yet. Ayu asked if it was for the guests who were about to arrive. Chen said yes, while wondering whether the bait they'd set 2 days earlier would actually work. Sometime later, a girl was working when she suddenly spotted a large group from the Coconut Grove clan heading toward their camp. She immediately ran over and told Chen the Coconut Grove clan had arrived. Inside the house, Ayu had been tending to him, and Chen was enjoying being looked after like that. He even thought that once he subdued the Coconut Grove clan, he'd have both Lisa and Ayu caring for him. As soon as he heard the Coconut Grove clan was here, Ayu went out to greet them. She invited Lisa inside the palace, saying their king king was waiting. The word palace stunned Lisa. How had Chen's people turned a straw shed into a wooden house so quickly? She kept staring, wondering how Chen's clan had changed so fast. Then Lisa smiled and asked whether her king was too afraid to come out and meet them. She added they didn't want to trouble Chen's clan again, but this time they would take more meat as compensation. She also said her subordinates wanted to meet their new neighbors, so she had brought them along, hoping they wouldn't frighten Chen's people. Ayu laughed and said their king had already ordered 40 portions of meat prepared in advance, so Lisa was free to take them. Though from the looks of it, she hadn't brought 40 people. Lisa then asked why Ayu didn't join the Coconut Grove clan if she cared so much, even offering her a place by her side. Ayu thanked her, but said she had long since been won over by her king's strength. She politely refused, then led them to where the meat was stored and said that if they couldn't carry it all, they were welcome to eat as much as they liked on the spot. She added that if cutting the meat was hard, they could ask Chen's warriors to help. Lisa told her people to eat and stay calm while she went to see Chen herself. When Lisa entered, Chen greeted her with easy warmth. Seeing Chen in that refined house made Lisa flush. Still, she kept her poise and asked if this was really his place, admitting it looked pretty decent. Chen noticed her interest in the house and decided to impress her further. He said this was only a temporary shelter. Once the real palace was built, this one would go to the tribes. Lisa froze, then asked if he truly planned to let his people live in a place like that. Chen said he knew it was rough for now, but later he would build them better stone houses. Then, without warning, Lisa suddenly pulled out her whip and bound Chen with it, leaning in close. Tense, Chen asked what she was doing. Lisa said no one understood men better than she did, and she knew plenty of ways to make him hand over those strange things willingly. She wondered if that would be enough to break him. Chen found it far too stimulating, but kept a stern face and laughed. Did she really think this could force him and that he'd have no backup plan? Inside, though, Chen was panicking. He had no backup at all. Things had slipped out of control, and his unhealed injuries made fighting hard enough already. To Chen's relief, Ayu suddenly entered and announced that the feast was ready. But when Ayu saw Chen and Lisa like that, she froze and blurted that Chen shouldn't be doing such things. Lisa withdrew the whip, and Chen said they'd talked enough. It was time to go out and barbecue. He asked Ayu whether the fire had been lit. Meanwhile, Lisa wondered if Chen's calm under her pressure meant he truly had a hidden plan or simply didn't fear death. Compared with her own people, his composure felt very different. Outside, the Coconut Grove girls cheerfully called Lisa over, saying the grilled meat smelled amazing. Chen also handed Ayu some salt to pass around to the Coconut Grove clan. Ayu gave it out, telling everyone to sprinkle a little on the meat to improve the taste. Lisa sharply demanded to know what Ayu was putting on the food. Ayu shot back that if Lisa was scared, she didn't have to eat. But once Lisa saw her clan members praising the flavor, she understood. Chen was pleased too, hoping they'd keep eating and buy Sam and Stonebone more time to finish their job. The scene shifted to Stonebone and the others, waiting near the black bulls. Liu Teng asked why they were hunting bulls again when they already had enough meat. Stonebone said they weren't here to hunt. He told Liu Teng to stop asking and follow orders. Then Huang Shu's signal came, and they all hurled their spears at the black bulls. The whole herd bolted. Stonebone shouted to Sam that the bulls were charging his way. Sam told them not to worry and leapt from the tree, driving his spear into a bull's neck. After landing the hit, Sam yelled that he'd done it. The bull was his now. Wounded, the bull began thrashing and running wildly. Sam forced himself to stay brave. He knew he could handle it. From afar, Huang Shu saw the herd turning east. Stonebone signaled Sam, and Sam realized the direction was wrong. He steered the bull to the right, sending it rushing west instead. The scene cut back to Chen's den, where the Coconut Grove girls were eating happily and at ease. Chen waited for the signal when suddenly a defender from the Coconut Grove clan came sprinting toward the den. Lisa saw her and demanded to know why she looked so panicked. Through tears, the girl said a group of crazed black bulls had stormed their camp, wrecking everything, and their defenders couldn't stop them. Lisa shot to her feet and ordered everyone back to the base, swearing she'd make those mad bulls pay. But inside, she was shaken. Her clan had always stayed away from the black bulls, so what had suddenly caused this? Back at the Coconut Grove camp, the girls couldn't drive the bulls off. They fired slingshots, but the shots barely fazed the beasts, so they rushed into close combat to save the sisters trapped below. But the moment one girl jumped down, a bull attacked and nearly hit her again. Just then, Lisa arrived and snared the bull's leg with her whip. Seeing her, the others brightened. Lisa shouted at the crazed beasts, furious they dared hurt her people. She dropped one bull, but that still wasn't enough. It got back up and charged straight at Lisa, hurling her through the air and knocking the whip from her hand. Chen appeared just in time and caught her. He asked if she was all right. Lisa, frustrated but steady, said she was fine. She just couldn't understand where the bulls had come from. Nearby, Huang Shu, Sam, Liu Teng, and Stonebone awkwardly hid their faces, since they were the cause. Chen then glared at the bulls and barked, asking if they'd forgotten their pain once their scars healed. The bulls roared and advanced, making Chen tense up. Did it not recognize him? Was the cloak made from the Black Bull King's hide not intimidating enough? Then, to his relief, the bull started backing away. Chen shouted that it seemed the herd had a new king. He told the bull boss it looked weaker than the last one, and since it was here, it could stay. At once, Chen's clan charged the bulls, and Stonebone told Sam to focus on the bull boss. With Stonebone helping, Sam vaulted onto the bull and tried to get it under control so he could ride it. Chen noticed Sam had real talent for riding. As his people worked to subdue the herd, Chen told Lisa to leave, but she refused, arguing that the herd still hadn't scattered. Chen stopped her from joining the fight, warning that she couldn't handle these monsters. He hadn't brought enough people, so charging in would be suicide. Lisa went quiet, unable to answer. Chen asked again why she wouldn't move her people to his place for now, where they could recover and wait for the right moment to retake their land. He promised them shelter, food, and protection. Ayu also urged Lisa to look at her people's condition. They were in no shape to fight. Did she really want to watch them throw their lives away? At last, Lisa ordered the Coconut Grove clan to help the wounded and retreat north to Chen's place. Hearing that, a girl named Ayun flared up, but she couldn't defy the queen. She told the injured to follow Chen's people. Chen then put Ayu in charge of escorting the Coconut Grove clan. Ayu agreed, and they left. Meanwhile, Stonebone and the others kept fighting, and Ayun joined in too. Stonebone told her to fall back if she was afraid, since they'd beaten the bulls once already and didn't need to rush. Ayun ignored him and attacked the bulls anyway. Chen told Stonebone to let her be and focus on winning. He believed those girls were brave. The scene shifted to evening, when everyone returned to Chen's camp. A girl named Maya from Chen's side welcomed them happily, saying she was glad everyone made it back safely. She asked about Chen and the others, and Ayu explained they had stayed behind to buy time while the injured were brought back. Maya said the Coconut Grove girls could stay in the houses they had built. She sighed in relief, thinking that without Mia and the others working through their injuries to finish those houses, there would have been nowhere to place them. After that, Ayu told Lisa everyone had been settled, with food, shelter, and safety assured, so she didn't need to worry. She urged Lisa to rest for now, and Lisa quietly thanked her. Ayu exhaled in relief as everything went smoothly and remembered Chen's words. He had said the whole plan was about bringing the Coconut Grove clan under control at the lowest possible cost, because after their last hard battle, they couldn't afford more injuries. Now only the final step remained. The scene shifted to the next day, when Mia asked He Jujiao whether everything had gone smoothly overnight. He Jujiao said yes. He'd stood guard all night, and nothing happened. Ayu was standing watch outside Lisa's house when she suddenly felt a shadow fall over her. She looked up and saw Mia had come over. Ayu immediately asked what she wanted. Mia said their king had invited Lisa to his palace to discuss something important. The scene shifted to Chen, who was checking his system and feeling when Lisa came to see him. Lisa said Ayu had told her about merging the clans, and her answer was no. She couldn't agree to it. Lisa warned Chen not to think he could pressure her just because the Coconut Grove clan was temporarily weakened. Chen replied that he wasn't forcing her. He was offering a trade. He could teach her how to build houses, make weapons, and create fire. And in return, the Coconut Grove clan would merge with his tribe. He asked again that she accept and remain under his protection. Chen stepped closer and said courage alone wasn't always enough. He reminded her that she knew the brutality of the Bay clan and the power of the Giant Stone clan better than he did. Right now, he said, she was like an injured fawn, and soon bloodthirsty beasts would smell that blood and come hunting. Frustrated, Lisa told him to stop. She already knew all that, but it wasn't so simple. She explained she couldn't force the Coconut Grove girls to submit to his rule. Lisa asked once more whether Chen was truly willing to accept that challenge. Chen just smiled and agreed. Once outside, Chen addressed the girls of the Coconut Grove clan. Since their queen was wounded and couldn't duel, he said, fairness meant he wouldn't fight either. Instead, Chen declared that Stonebone would battle in his place. Stonebone laughed and asked who dared face him. Ayun stepped forward at once and accepted. Stonebone grinned, warning her not to get beaten by him. Ayun shot back that he should watch out for her eagle weapon. The duel began, and Ayun hurled a bone knife at Stonebone. He laughed at first, but then realized Chen was standing right behind him. If he dodged, Chen would be hit. So Stonebone raised his axe and blocked the first blade, but a second knife slipped through and scraped his helmet. He wasn't badly hurt, but it enraged him. Stonebone charged Ayun with brutal force. Ayun was nearly overwhelmed when a Coconut Grove girl suddenly leaped from the crowd and threw another knife at Stonebone's helmet. At the same moment, Ayun swept him down. Stonebone yelled that he'd been ambushed and the duel was no longer fair. As he hit the ground, Ayun snatched up a knife and lunged straight at Chen. Chen didn't even flinch. He'd already assigned Huang Shi to guard him. Hidden atop the palace roof, Huang Shi hurled a spear at Ayun to shield Chen. The spear struck and sent Ayun crashing down. At once, the Coconut Grove girls rushed toward Tina, shouting at Chen in fury. They accused him of cheating and luring them into his territory with a scheme. Stonebone and Ayun both tensed as the standoff escalated. The girls begged Lisa for an order, insisting they could wipe everyone here out. Chen grew tense too. An assassination hadn't been part of his plan, and he wondered if the Coconut Grove girls were trying to spark a full fight. whether Lisa ordered it or knew nothing about it. If the queen had commanded it, he could even use Lisa as a hostage. But to his surprise, Lisa angrily ordered her people to stop. She shouted, asking if they really thought their petty scheme could fool her. She said she'd never allow friends who had helped them to be treated so shamefully. Lisa added that she wouldn't investigate who joined the assassination plot, but the duel was still their loss. Then she told Chen Ayun was the Coconut Grove clan's bravest, most loyal warrior. Without her, Ayun would never have thrown away her pride for something like this. Lisa said she knew Chen possessed extraordinary abilities, almost miraculous ones, so she asked whether he could be generous enough to spare Tina's life. The Coconut Grove clan would be grateful forever. Chen looked stern, but inwardly he was relieved. This wasn't the worst outcome, and control of the situation was back in his hands. Thinking of the hemostatic ointment, he told Lisa not to worry. Ayun wouldn't die. After all, they were allies now. One of the girls urged Chen to hurry. Ayun was fading fast. As he went to help, Chen decided he'd overlook Tina's assassination attempt for the greater good, but her actions still couldn't go unpunished. So he used only a little medicine, enough to keep Ayun alive, not restore her fully, and saved the rest of the ointment for his own wounds. After treating her, he told the others to carry Ayun back home and said she'd recover in a few days. Seeing that, the girls of the Coconut Grove clan began praising Chen, convinced they'd witnessed a miracle. Chen embraced Lisa and asked if her people could merge with his tribe now. Flushed with happiness, she gladly said yes. Smiling, Chen told Lisa she could keep leading her people, as long as they followed his orders. Lisa then said she had one last request. Chen needed to become her partner, and they should hold a ceremony to make it official. Hearing that, Chen flushed with delight. To him, it felt like a gift dropped into his lap. He pictured a wedding, ring exchange, a bridal chamber, a daughter, raising her together, watching her marry, growing old side by side, and finally entering the afterlife together. Seeing Chen pulling strange expressions, Lisa nervously asked what was wrong. Did he not want the partner ceremony? Chen quickly said he absolutely wanted it and pulled her into a tight hug. Then he told Lisa to rest and heal well, since he also needed time to prepare for the ceremony. He ordered everyone to go rest too, telling them to return in a few days for the ceremony. After that, the system informed him that his tribe had officially been established and asked him to choose a name. Looking closer, Chen saw the tribe's population was only 46, and wondered why it was short by 4. He named it the Newbie tribe. Then Chen started thinking about how to handle the Bei clan, even considering taking some of their people prisoner. Still, he wasn't sure captives would count toward the tribe's population. Then he overheard several Coconut Grove girls whispering. They said they used to like Chen's smile, but now he'd end up like the men who became the queen's partners before. Chopped to pieces during the ceremony, then eaten. Chen went stiff. The queen ate men? He wondered if that explained why the Coconut Grove clan had so few males. Then someone suddenly came up behind him, making him yelp and beg them not to hurt him. Mia revealed herself and asked why he was so frightened. Still startled, Chen asked what she wanted. Mia asked if he really intended to become that rude woman Lisa's partner. Chen admitted he might need to rethink it, since agreeing to the ceremony had been too hasty. Mia asked if he meant that. Chen said he thought he was getting a bride, but Lisa turned out to be more like a praying mantis. Mia started celebrating, until Ayu cut in and asked why she'd snuck out when she was supposed to be resting. Blushing, Mia said she wanted to be with Chen. He sadly replied that he needed to be alone, and suggested the Coconut Grove girls help with camp construction if they wanted. Ayu agreed and started leading Mia back. Even so, Mia kept telling Chen to think carefully and choose her instead of Lisa. After that, Chen decided to go talk with Lisa about all this. The next day, Chen woke to find everyone getting along surprisingly well, and even the Coconut Grove clan was helping build houses. He headed for the farming area where the Coconut Grove group's temporary camp was set up. When he arrived, Ayun greeted him and asked if he'd come to see the queen. If so, she said, Lisa was near the river. Ayun then informed Lisa that the king had come, and Lisa told everyone else to leave. Once they were alone, Lisa asked whether something urgent had happened. Chen said no. He'd only come to check how her wound was healing. Lisa replied she'd be fully recovered in 2 or 3 more days. Then Lisa asked if Chen wanted to get an early start on their romance. Tense, Chen said no, then asked her name. Lisa told him he could call her Lisa. That was the name the former queen had given her, but no one had used it since her exile. Hearing that, Chen grew even more uneasy, thinking it was either obey or be exiled, and she might as well rename the clan the Praying Mantis clan. Chen asked whether the former queen had partners too, and where they had ended up. Lisa answered that all of them had been eaten. In her clan, queens traditionally consumed their partners to gain more power. Chen was even more alarmed, but relaxed a little when Lisa said that was the old queen's custom, and she had no intention of keeping it. Chen felt somewhat relieved and asked if she'd ever eaten anyone. Lisa said she'd only recently become queen and had never had a partner, so she'd never had the chance. Chen then said goodbye and left to prepare for the ceremony. On the way back, he thought that if being eaten wasn't a risk, maybe he should talk with Mia. Suddenly, Lisa added that although she didn't eat people, if someone wronged her later, she would not hesitate to punish them severely. Sometime later, Chen walked through their living area, watching everyone work. Then he realized he had only 7 days left to finish the mission, so he decided to capture prisoners first and secure it. Chen told Stonebone he would be away for a while. During that time, Stonebone was to organize everyone's work, and if anything urgent happened, send someone to find Chen at the beach to the south. The scene then shifted to the South Sea beach, where Chen saw something shocking and wondered what had happened. Had the Bei clan been wiped out? Dodo birds wandered freely among the corpses, so Chen realized the area was safe for the moment. He inspected the Bei clan bodies and noted they still had some elasticity, with no smell of decay. Whatever battle killed them had ended not long ago. Chen also saw that their finger claws were unusually sharp, and the wounds matched those claws. He began to wonder if the water lunatics had turned on each other. That made finding any survivors even more urgent. There, he found a corpse with no internal injuries, but a face twisted in agony, as if it had died painfully. While Chen tried to figure out what had happened, Sam suddenly appeared out of nowhere, shouting that a group of Bei clan members was causing chaos back at their place. Hearing that, Chen immediately ran back toward the base. The scene shifted to the base, where Stonebone told everyone to stay close, save their strength, and get ready for close combat. They hurled wooden spears, but the Bei clan lunatics shrugged them off without a scratch. As the lunatics pushed closer, Stonebone told everyone to stay calm and fight however they could. Just don't let anyone get dragged into the water. Once that happened, they'd stand no chance. The lunatics rushed them, but a barrage of stones broke their charge. Right then, Queen Lisa's reinforcements arrived. Lisa asked Stonebone what was happening. Were these Bei clan enemies? And why had people from the southern edge suddenly shown up at their base? Stonebone said he had no idea. The lunatics had suddenly come out of South River and stormed the base like madmen. Then the two sides collided in a brutal fight. Lisa herself joined the newbie clan in battle. She tried speaking to the Bei clan fighters but got no response, making her realize something was very wrong with them. While Lisa traded blows with one attacker, a larger lunatic tried to ambush her. Chen stepped in at full force, swinging hard at the brute, yet the lunatic tanked the hit with ease, shocking him. Two Bei clan members then tried to jump Chen, but Huang Shui and Lan Gukui cut in, striking them down and knocking them out. If the Bei clan wanted their king, they warned, they'd have to get through them first. Chen praised Huang Shui and Lan Gukui and told them to handle those smaller freaks. He also asked Lisa to help his people deal with them, because he needed his full attention on the monster in front of him. Lisa agreed and rushed in. Chen told everyone he was relying on them until his own fight was decided. He told the big lunatic he had no idea what had happened to the Bei clan, but the newbie clan had nothing to do with it. They were probably attacking the wrong target. The brute ignored him and attacked anyway. Chen tensed up, shouting, asking if it had lost the ability to speak. He was also stunned by the lunatic's explosive strength and wondered how, even with power and speed several times beyond a normal person, he was supposed to handle this. Against these lunatics, he felt like a fragile damage dealer, and with his people all around him, he couldn't risk using his axe's hidden skill. Lost in thought, Chen missed the rhythm of the lunatic's assault, and it clamped its teeth onto his hand. Thankfully, he yanked back in time because the Bull King's cloak took the bite. Without that protection, his left hand might have been ripped clean off. The lunatic grew even angrier and charged Chen again at full speed. Chen barely dodged, and the brute tore off his cloak instead. Chen went cold. How had it gotten so fast? If he hadn't slipped free of the cloak, he'd be dead. Then he noticed the lunatic suddenly stop attacking and wondered why it had frozen. A moment later, it backed away. Chen sensed something odd. The big lunatic had only torn off the blood-stained part of his cloak. He also noticed Agun was the only one surrounded by large numbers of Bei clan members. That was when Chen realized the Bei clan was tracking targets by the smell of blood. In this twisted state, they were running on pure instinct, and Chen immediately thought of using that against them. Just then, Sam came back and asked Chen what he needed. Chen ordered him to take 2 people and bring 3 cubs from the pigsty. Sam stared at him, confused, reminding him those boars were being saved for later use. Chen snapped at Sam to just do it, silently fuming that the Bei clan was forcing him to sacrifice 3 valuable boars, and he'd repay that later. He then told Lisa to pull all the wounded out of the fight. Soon Sam returned with the boars. Chen told him to release the cubs toward the river. The instant they were let loose, the frightened boars bolted for the water to find safety, but Huang Shu was waiting with spears and struck the cubs. As soon as they were wounded, all the lunatics of the Bei clan turned toward them and began ripping them apart. While the lunatics feasted on the cubs, Chen ordered everyone to coat their spearheads with paralysis drug and avoid vital spots. Then, to his surprise, Huang Shu said the Bei clan lunatics were acting strange again. When Chen looked over, he was stunned to see the lunatics twitching oddly before slowly collapsing to the ground. Chen angrily demanded to know if Sam had poisoned the cubs, but Sam denied it. That only made Chen more alert, and he ordered everyone to keep their distance and stay on guard. He couldn't figure out what was happening to the Bei clan or why this was occurring. Sometime later, the scene shifted to the farming area, where every Bei clan member had been locked in cages. Ayun told everyone to stay alert in case any of them moved. When the Bei clan captives woke up, they immediately started begging for help. Ayun sent a girl to inform King Chen. After a while, Chen arrived and asked what was happening. He found every Bei clan member desperately asking for water. Chen first asked Ayun where Hector, the Bei clan leader, was. She said Hector had been isolated from the others. When Chen reached Hector's cage, Hector too was begging for water, so Chen splashed some from a bottle onto him. Then he asked Hector whether he could understand him, and Hector answered yes. Chen then handed the questioning over to Ayu. Ayu gave Hector water to drink and told him to take as much as he wanted. Hector said his people needed water too and asked Chen to share it with them. Ayu assured him everyone would get some, then asked if he was ready to answer a few questions. Hector tensely demanded why their clan had been attacked just for that. He added that he'd heard the Giant Stone clan were strange, but never imagined they'd be this bizarre. Ayu asked if he was claiming the Giant Stone clan had attacked them. Hector looked shocked and said Tor had never told him Chen's clan wasn't the Giant Stone clan. Ayu explained they were the new newbie tribe, and Chen was their king. Hector said he had never heard of any newbie tribe, so the Giant Stone clan must have driven them far away. Ayu told him he was mistaken again. Hector had been captured because he attacked their land, and the newbie clan had never had any dealings with the Giant Stone clan. It was the Bay clan who charged in like rabid beasts. Hector refused to believe it, saying he remembered nothing Ayu was describing, so Ayu asked him to tell them whatever he did remember. Hector said his clan had been living around the South Fish, passing the time with their usual infighting and games. Then suddenly one of the children ran to him crying that someone had taken his dodo bird. Hector told the child to be brave and fight for his own things, thinking Scaly and the others had stolen it. But the child said no, it was taken by those weird people. When Hector looked over, he saw men from the Giant Stone clan. Furious, he demanded to know why they were in his territory. The Giant Stone leader didn't answer. He simply ordered his people to attack the Bay clan. Hector was stunned by the sudden ambush and couldn't understand why it was happening. He said he was knocked unconscious in the fight, and when he woke up, he was already caged by the newbie clan. Chen then told Hector he had visited their village earlier, and no one there was left alive. If they hadn't spared the surviving Bay clan members, the Bay clan would be gone by now. Hearing that, Hector was crushed, overwhelmed by the pain of failing to save his people. Suddenly, something dropped from Hector's body. Ayu picked it up and told Chen to look. When Chen examined the leaf through the system, he identified it as industrial hemp, a herb known to ease pain and cause hallucinations when smoked. That discovery put Chen on edge, and he wondered if the Giant Stone clan was behind it. Later, everyone was busy giving water to the Bay clan captives. Meanwhile, Chen gathered leaves from every Bay clan member and noticed the same strange clue on all of them. He remembered Sam once saying the Giant Stone clan leader had gained some kind of divine power. Now it seemed less like a god and more like something evil. Chen figured the industrial hemp had likely driven the Bay clan to attack each other. He also suspected the Giant Stone clan set this up because the Bay clan's mad assault on newbie tribe territory couldn't have been random. If the Giant Stone clan had deliberately sent the Bay clan here to wreak havoc and die, then the newbie tribe had already been noticed and marked as a threat. Even Hector, with all his raw strength, had been reduced to someone else's puppet, proving the Giant Stone clan was no small danger. Chen checked his stats and saw that 3 points of strength might not be enough. He needed to level up before the real threat arrived. Ayu came over and warned that Hector was close to a mental collapse, and if that happened, they might get no more answers. Chen said they didn't have time to wait for Hector to recover. Danger could strike at any moment. Ayu asked if he meant the Giant Stone clan was planning to attack their base. Chen said it was hard to explain, but he believed the Giant Stone clan had used industrial hemp leaves to control the Bay clan. He stressed that no one knew what came next, so they had to stir Hector's memories fast and get more information. Chen told Stonebone to stop blaming himself. Once someone breathes the toxic smoke from industrial hemp leaves, strength alone means nothing. Then Chen held up the leaf and asked Hector to look at it. The moment Hector saw it, he said the smell felt familiar. He vaguely remembered catching that scent while fighting those bastards, but back then it was buried under all kinds of other odors. He only knew it was sharp and disgusting. That made Chen tense. He asked if the Giant Stone clan might be using several poisonous plants. He figured they had to learn what each herb did before planning any counterattack. Hector asked if King Chen intended to go after the Giant Stone clan, adding that the Bay clan wanted in too. If he couldn't avenge his people, he said, he'd regret it for the rest of his life. The other Bay clan survivors shouted that they wanted revenge as well, and were willing to do whatever it took to get it. Chen thought that, while he still needed more people for the main quest, they were only 4 short now. His thoughts were cut off when Hector pointed out their noses were extremely sharp. They could identify and track those toxic herbs, which would help Chen a lot. Chen said that was exactly what worried him. Their keen senses could track herbs, yes, but their sensitivity to blood meant that if the Bay clan lost control again, the outcome would be disastrous. Hector shouted that without that poisonous smoke, they could control themselves easily. Chen nodded that the real enemy was the Giant Stone clan, then asked what they'd do if that smoke was released again in battle. Hector answered sadly that if it came to that, they would refuse to fight. Chen said he understood the urge for revenge, but anger and hatred alone wouldn't solve anything. He also warned that Tor might not support whatever plan Hector had in mind. Hector replied that they were the last of the Bay clan. If Chen could help them avenge their people, then their lives were his. Chen told Hector that if he joined the tribe and swore loyalty to the newbie clan, then Chen would guarantee revenge. Still, he made one thing clear. Not every Bay clan member would get to take part personally. Then Chen asked Hector again what he thought of the deal. Hector and the rest of the Bay clan immediately shouted that they accepted. As Chen turned to leave, Hector called after him. Chen understood at once and told Ayu and Ayun to free the Bay clan from their cages. They were allies now. The moment he did, the system announced the tribe mission was complete. Chen got 3 attribute points, a large material chest, and a heritage plaque. Because he finished within 7 days, he also earned a surprise gift pack. Chen finally relaxed. The quest was done at last, and decided to put all 3 attribute points into strength. As soon as the points were assigned, a huge wave of power surged through him. He could feel energy rushing inside his body. When it settled, he noticed his hair had grown longer and wondered if that was a side effect of the boost. After that, Chen moved on to inspect the rewards. In the large material chest, he found 1 ton of hematite. That thrilled him. It meant he could skip the Bronze Age and move straight into the Iron Age. Next, Chen opened the surprise gift pack, hoping for something good. He was delighted to find 3 jars of hemostatic ointment. Compared with last time, this reward was far better. Then Chen told the system to bring out the heritage plaque. On it, he saw he had obtained a civilization item, though unlocking it would cost 10 technology points. He didn't hesitate and spent the points to identify it. The identification finished, and Chen received a plaque called Sense of Modesty. He immediately realized it could be an important step for their civilization's growth. He was especially pleased because it meant he no longer had to worry about men and women bathing together. He definitely didn't want anyone seeing Lisa bathe. With that done, Chen turned back to the bigger problem: how to handle the giant stone clan. Just then, Ayu arrived. She was stunned by Chen's new body, taller, broader, more muscular. Chen brushed it off and asked what she needed. In reply, Ayu asked whether he wanted her to negotiate with the Giant Stone Clan and clear up any misunderstanding. Chen said there was no misunderstanding. The Giant Stone Clan had already decided to destroy them. He called them the toughest enemy the newbie clan had faced so far, the kind that could set others against each other and profit from the chaos. Ayu asked nervously what their clan should do now, unable to hide her fear. Chen said their best move for now was to strengthen defenses, store food, and avoid provoking the Giant Stone Clan until they were fully ready. In short, they had to hide their strength and wait for the right time. Ayu then asked how they should organize the 22 newcomers. Chen told her to split the Bei clan people into 3 teams, 1 to build houses, 1 to gather food, and 1 to make traps. At the mention of traps, Ayu looked confused and asked what they were for. Chen explained simply that traps would help defend their territory. He added that they could catch enemies or wild beasts alive, giving the tribe a stronger defense. Then he told Ayu he had another urgent job for her. With so many new mouths to feed, they had to start thinking about long-term food supplies, and they couldn't keep wasting leftover meat. So he decided everyone should learn to make jerky first. When Stonebone arrived and stared at Chen's bigger frame in surprise, Chen told him to ignore that and focus on the task ahead. He ordered Stonebone to start setting traps throughout the nearby mountains, and the denser the better. Chen said he had already picked helpers for him and would personally teach the first trap. But he stressed that the real key wasn't just learning to build them, it was memorizing where every trap was placed. Hearing that, Stonebone tensed up and admitted the job didn't sound exciting at all. Chen lightly tapped his helmet and said trusting him to remember every trap location proved how important he was. This had to stay absolutely secret. Only Chen and Stonebone would know everything, and no third person could be involved. He told Stonebone to rotate workers through different sections so no one person learned all the trap locations in any one area. If there was even one traitor among them, the consequences would be disastrous. Once the traps were set, Chen said, Stonebone had to report every location back to him. He even wiped away the sketches he'd used to explain things, warning Stonebone not to draw anything. Every trap location had to stay in his head. Stonebone admitted it sounded difficult, but promised he would live up to Chen's trust. Chen praised him, then told him to rest. They would start the work after dark. Chen placed the Sense of Modesty plaque outside his house so everyone passing by could see it and absorb its meaning. Then he told Len Guchui he was going to sleep for a while. Stonebone and the others would come find him at night. If anything urgent happened before then, Len Guchui was to wake him immediately. Inside the house, Chen lay on the bed wondering how much time they really had. There was still so much to do. Train soldiers into different units, build defenses, organize patrols, unlock new technology, expand territory. To Chen, the work felt endless. Still, he decided to enjoy this rare chance to rest and soon fell asleep. When Chen woke, he found himself in a bar, surrounded by beautiful girls drinking. Chen asked them to introduce themselves. They said they were Xiaoya, Lily, and Tita Dan. Delighted, Chen said he'd clearly had too much to drink, but he was happy to be back, no longer stuck in those nerve-wracking days of surviving in the wild. He enjoyed their company, and after a while, Xiao Yu was lying beside him, telling him it was time to get up and work. Chen groaned that he really couldn't anymore. Xiao Yu then said she wasn't Xiao Yu. He guessed a few other names, but everyone was wrong. At last, she announced that she was Stonebone. Chen jolted awake in horror and shouted. It had all been a dream. Furious, he demanded to know why Stonebone was in his room. Stonebone said Chen had told him to come at night, but when he arrived, Chen grabbed him and started flirting. Chen was completely dumbfounded. Then Leng Guchui cut in, saying it was all a misunderstanding and they needed to get to work. Sometime later, the scene shifted to Chen teaching everyone how to build traps, starting with a spike pit as the example. He explained that their enemies and the beasts they faced were huge, so the traps had to be deep and wide enough to work. Then Chen showed them the proper way to conceal the pits with leaves. He reminded them that spike pits could be paired with the tripwire traps he'd taught earlier, and that mixing trap types was important. He added that Huang Shi could also teach other trap designs. Huang Shi looked confused and said he didn't know any traps at all. Chen asked if he remembered the moving target from spear training, swap the log for a net and add a trigger, and it could become a trap. After that, Chen left the work to Stonebone and the others and headed back, quietly hoping he could pick up the dream he'd just lost. Back in the territory, Chen was surprised to find the place empty. At this hour, someone was usually already up and working. He went to check the houses, but when he tried to step into the girl's place, the women inside immediately yelled for whoever it was to stay out. When Chen asked what happened, their voices turned serious. Some were only half-dressed, so none of them wanted to come outside. That made Chen suspect the heritage plaque's sense of modesty was affecting them. He shut the door and told them they had half a day to make new clothes. If they still weren't out by noon, he warned, he'd enforce the rules without mercy. Standing near the plaque, Chen marveled at how strong its effect was. Then, Stonebone came running over, shouting his name. When Chen turned, Stonebone excitedly said they'd uncovered something while digging traps. Chen lit up at once. What Stonebone found was flint, an excellent discovery. He explained that flint opened up endless possibilities, especially since striking it hard could create sparks. Chen and Stonebone hurried back to where it had been found. Once there, Stonebone pointed out the spot and said they'd dug around that stone. After one look, Chen realized there wasn't much flint here. Since this wasn't dry, saline wasteland, if the flint had formed naturally, there was only one likely explanation. He told Stonebone to inspect the soil more carefully. Stonebone agreed, saying that patch of earth was softer than the rest, and there seemed to be things buried inside that didn't look like normal rocks. When Stonebone tasted it, he instantly panicked. It was dung, and he felt sick after putting it in his mouth. Chen, meanwhile, had already guessed there was probably a large dung pit underneath. He was baffled. Had another primitive tribe once lived here and reached a stage where they used something like toilets? Or had this been the giant stone clan's old den? Chen told Stonebone to gather the flint, then bury everything again and leave no trace. He also ordered more traps set nearby, beacon towers built on the high ground, and guards posted in rotating shifts. Stonebone just stared, then blurted out in confusion. Towers? Beacons? What was Chen talking about? The scene shifted ahead 4 days. Chen strolled through the territory, looking over the many new houses. To him, this was the first real step toward happiness. Suddenly, Mia sprinted at him and nearly scared him out of his skin. He hurriedly called for Leng Guchui to help stop her. But it was too late. Mia slammed into Chen in a full-force hug and accidentally crushed a house in the process. Leng Guchui nervously asked if Chen was all right and told Mia to get off him at once. Seeing Chen hurt, Mia hugged him even tighter, begging him not to die. They'd only just finished building houses and couldn't lose him now. Chen groaned that the fooling around was over, then asked if Mia had said the houses were finished. She nodded and proudly reported 2 rows of houses, 10 in total, enough to house 50 people comfortably. Pleased, Chen patted her head and praised her work. Then he told Mia not to act so recklessly again, and punished her by making her repair the broken house. After that, he went to inspect their food stores. When he reached the riverbank, Chen saw the Bei clan happily catching fish, while Ayu and several girls helped lay the catch out to dry. Chen remarked that compared with building houses or digging traps, the Bei clan were far better suited to going into the river and fishing. With their help, the new tribe had clearly gained both more food and more variety. Leng Guchui praised Chen for how much they'd accomplished, saying it had given them such a prosperous life. Chen said maybe so, but he still wondered whether the way he subdued the Coconut Grove clan was truly right, and what tricks he might use next time. Leng Guchui told him not to question himself. Chen's orders were their will, and in his eyes, there was nothing wrong with what they'd done. In this world, he said, only the strong survive. Tribes big and small destroy one another every day, so winning with the fewest losses was mercy, for them and for the Coconut Grove clan. Chen smiled and said that Leng Guchui already had the most important qualities needed for the road ahead. Then Chen asked him to come inspect the border defenses, convinced the Bei tribe might still have more surprises in store, like that mysterious frogman force. The scene shifted to Stonebone and the others working on traps and towers. When Chen arrived, he asked Stonebone how the traps and beacon towers had been arranged. Stonebone said that, following Chen's orders, the west, south, and north beacon towers were all finished. But after assigning 6 people to man the towers in shifts, they had very few workers left. Stonebone explained that to finish on schedule, they had to leave early and work on the mountain before dark. Chen understood the manpower shortage and decided that starting today, he and Leng Guchui would go up the mountain to help. Stonebone protested that they could manage, but Chen cut him off. This was a critical moment, so every second mattered. He kept wondering whether the giant stone clan had once lived nearby. If so, they might know this terrain better than his own people did, and if they struck while his tribe was still unprepared, the next surprise attack could be even bigger. That night, while everyone worked and Chen worked alongside them, he suddenly glanced toward the western beacon tower and felt a bad premonition. He wondered if it was just his imagination. Then screams suddenly suddenly rang out from the south beacon tower. Startled, Chen whipped around and looked that way, where he saw the signal for help. Chen shouted for everyone to move. The south beacon tower was under attack. Chen sprinted south, his thoughts racing. Even knowing every trap location, and with the agility boost from 2 points, it still took at least 5 minutes to reach the south mountain. He could only pray nothing happened in those 5 minutes. At the south tower, Huang Shi was on patrol when he noticed traps near the tribe had been triggered. He couldn't figure out how enemies had slipped in that far. He also considered that another group might have seen the beacon fire and was closing in under cover of the chaos. Deciding it was best to strike first, he went to find the intruder. Huang Shi rushed toward the sound and stabbed with his spear, but the opponent was strong, knocking the spear aside and forcing him to dodge. To his shock, the figure instantly pressed into attack, leaving Huang Shi almost no time to react and making him raise his guard in panic. To his relief, the attacker stopped and revealed himself as Chen. Stunned, Huang Shi asked why he was on the southern side. Chen said there was no time to explain, and asked whether Huang Shi knew where the traps had gone off. Huang said yes, and pointed out the spot, adding that he was the one who lit the beacon. Chen told him to wait for the others taking the safe route, then bring them there after him. When Chen reached the triggered traps, he couldn't sense anyone else around. The silence was wrong. It clearly wasn't a wild beast they'd caught. And since the trapped person wasn't calling for help, Chen wondered whether they were alone at all or already unconscious. When he looked into the trap, he was stunned to find Lisa. He demanded to know what she was doing there when she was supposed to be recovering from her injuries. Lisa snapped, asking why he was standing there interrogating her instead of helping. Chen only grinned and teased her by tickling her feet until Lisa, furious, told him to get her out. Just then, they heard Huang Shi and the others getting close. Lisa hissed at Chen that if anyone saw her like this, he'd better make sure they kept their mouths shut. Chen tensed and told her to wait while he handled them. He shouted for everyone to stop where they were and not come any closer. This was dangerous, and they could die if they approached. Stonebone looked baffled and wondered if Chen had stumbled into an ambush. Should they rush in and save him? Huang said probably not. From Chen's tone, he didn't sound like he was in trouble, more like he didn't want them seeing something. Stonebone muttered that Chen had seemed strange since the fight. Even the women avoided them while bathing, and everything felt different somehow, though he couldn't explain it. Meanwhile, Chen pulled Lisa free and laughed, saying he never expected her of all people to fall into the trap, but at least now they knew it worked. Lisa laughed too, saying she hadn't expected him to know so many bizarre tricks. Chen then asked what brought her out here in the middle of the night, and Lisa said she'd overheard the Bay tribe talking that evening. She explained that 2 members of the Bay clan were saying they wished they could go to the seaside for fish, shrimp, or clams to get more strength for work, but the path to the shore was blocked by a vicious pack of hyenas, so no one dared go while risking an attack. Back in the present, Lisa said that was why she came out at night, to find a safer route. Chen said he'd walked that road many times, and there were no hyenas there 5 days earlier. He suspected someone from the Bay clan had slipped out recently and drawn the pack into the area. Lisa asked if there was a problem with the Bay clan and suggested executing them. Chen immediately said no, that wasn't what he meant. He was thinking about the security gaps they'd failed to notice, and said they needed patrols. He also stressed that they had to clear the road to the beach and make it safe. Chen added that fish and shrimp were only a bonus. The real priorities were dodo birds and their eggs. He also suggested opening a salt field for drying salt. Then he settled it. At daybreak, they'd deal with the hyenas. Lisa said she could handle patrols and hidden sentries. Still, she urged Chen to think twice about hunting the hyenas and pushing their territory farther. Chen smiled and asked if she was worried about him. Flustered, Lisa told him not to get ahead of himself. She warned that with so few people, guarding 2 separate areas could be dangerously reckless. She also reminded him the beach had already been hit once by the giant stone clan. What if they came back? Chen replied that was exactly why the beach was relatively safe now. He explained that their main camp, the beach outpost, and the giant stone clan on the southwest mountain formed a triangle. If goods and messages moved smoothly between camp and shore, both sides could support each other. Lisa admitted she didn't really follow his reasoning, but since he'd decided, she agreed. Sometime later, Chen, Hector, Leng Guchui, and several Bay clan members headed to the place where the child had spotted the hyenas. Hector asked the kid if he was sure it was this path. There was no scent of blood. The child insisted he'd seen the hyenas there about 2 days earlier. As the boy walked ahead, a hyena suddenly lunged at him. Hector reacted instantly, striking back and pulling the child out of danger. But almost at once, hyenas closed in on them from every direction. Leng Guchui warned Chen to stay alert. Chen just smiled, saying that with the Bay clan beside them, a pack of wild dogs was nothing. Then Hector told Chen to take the group on the left while he handled the right. The fight broke out, and the Bay clan cut into the hyenas with ease. Chen figured it was the perfect chance to see what the new recruits were really capable of. A hyena suddenly sprang at Chen. He stopped it with ease, catching it by the throat. Within minutes, they had wiped out the hyenas. Hector grumbled that the fight hadn't been satisfying. Chen told him to forget it and pushed everyone to keep moving. As they went farther, Hector said this used to be their territory. When they arrived, Chen told everyone to study the cliff. That, he said, was where the outpost would be built. He specified it had to sit near the cliff and be large enough for 20 people, with a beacon tower above it. Chen added that once the tower was done, they also needed a small salt field beside the outpost. He told Hector he'd send extra hands to help, but made it clear he had only 4 days to finish everything. For a moment, Chen felt like a foreman inspecting a work site, even though he was the one stuck doing the hard labor. Before leaving, Chen instructed them to light a signal fire immediately if any emergency came up. The scene shifted to 3 days later, when Chen finished crafting a wooden bow and earned 5 technology points. Just then, Ayu came to tell everyone that Sam had returned with a report. Chen went over and asked whether Sam had found any northern tribes to ally with or conquer. Sam said he'd traveled north for more than a day and found no trace of people. All he discovered was a lake, a nearby snow-capped mountain, and some strange creature living in the water. Before he could get a clear look, the creature sank to the bottom and vanished. With the snow mountain lying farther ahead, Sam didn't dare continue and turned back. Chen laughed it off, praising him for doing well, then joked that Sam feared the snowy mountain more than the lake monster. Shivering, Sam said the mountain was far more terrifying. He asked if Chen had never heard the stories about it. Chen asked what was so frightening, but Ayu suddenly threw her arms around him, saying she was scared. Chen asked why the snow mountain frightened her so much. Ayu said the mountain itself wasn't the worst part. It was what lived beyond it, a giant. Chen told Ayu not to be afraid. With him there, she didn't need to fear. Then his system suddenly issued a new quest. Find the giant, and he'd receive 1 attribute point. Chen was stunned. Why would simply seeing a giant earn 1 point? He'd nearly gotten killed driving off a saber-tooth before and only earned 2. Then he figured the giant might just be some oversized fellow. Watching from a distance shouldn't be that dangerous, right? On the other hand, if the giants had their own civilization, maybe they could even become allies. Even so, he had to stay cautious. One mistake could bring disaster to the tribe. Still, exploration and diplomacy weren't jobs he could leave entirely to Sam and Ayu. Chen told Sam to go rest. The banquet was in 2 days, so he could take it easy and enjoy himself. Sam thanked him, clearly relieved he was getting a break and wouldn't have to face the giant. Ayu reminded Chen that Sam got nervous in certain situations. Chen said it might be more than nerves. Sam sensed danger better than anyone else, which made him unusually alert to certain threats. That was why he could roam outside and still stay alive. Chen then asked Ayu about the preparations for the partner ceremony. Ayu said everything was ready. Chen told her to pack travel supplies for 4 people. He planned to take a small group on an expedition. Hearing that he was going himself, Ayu tensely asked if the trip was dangerous. Chen said he was only scouting nearby areas, so there was no need to worry. He asked for food, water skins, and warm clothes, and told Ayu to thank Skinny for making the clothing so well. Ayu then asked when he planned to leave. Chen said the ceremony was in 2 days, so he'd depart after the banquet. The scene shifted to 2 days later, with Chen having prepared a shield for himself. He explained that, made from hardwood and cowhide, it was very light. He added that everyone should replace their gear as quickly as possible. Just then, Ayu came in and told Chen it was time to put on the royal dress. When he stepped outside wearing it, everyone cheered and began celebrating. At that moment, Chen couldn't help wondering if the partner ceremony was basically a wedding. In his old life, he'd struggled just to survive, but now he had his own tribe, his own people, and a wife. It felt almost like a dream, yet in this world, he truly felt he belonged. Chen walked up to Lisa and told her that if he was ever gone, the fate of the newbie tribe would be in her hands. Then he announced to the whole tribe that from this moment on, Lisa was the queen of the newbie tribe. The people loudly praised their king and queen, and the mood turned deeply emotional. Even Mia cried, saying she didn't want anyone replacing the king, but the scene was still moving. After the celebration ended and night fell, everyone wished Chen good night, and went to Chen felt relieved that the ceremony had passed without anything going wrong. Ayu approached with a smile and told him Queen Lisa was waiting in the palace. He should go to her. At first, Chen blushed at the thought of Lisa waiting for him, but then tensed up, remembering her favorite way of showing affection involved a whip. Even so, he headed for the palace, curious about what might be waiting for him. Working up his nerve, Chen opened the door and told Lisa he was home. But the moment he saw her angry face and felt the heavy tension, Chen went stiff, wondering why it suddenly felt like someone was about to die. Lisa told him she'd give him one chance to explain himself. Nervously, Chen asked what exactly she wanted him to explain. Lisa rose, pulled out the whip, and asked if he was still pretending. Now genuinely scared, Chen begged her to be gentle. It was their wedding night. Privately, he regretted ever upgrading Lisa's whip. Lisa demanded to know why he was in such a hurry to leave her by going on a journey right after the ceremony. Hearing that, Chen relaxed a little and asked her to calm down so he could explain. He laid out his whole plan, and Lisa asked if he meant to persuade the giants to join them against the giant stone clan. Chen said he wasn't sure he could win the giants over and wanted to be safe, so the trip's real purpose had to stay secret. He also admitted he didn't understand why Sam and Ayu were so afraid of the giants. Lisa heard that and asked if it wouldn't be better for her to go with him. Chen refused, saying one of them had to remain with the tribe, and besides, she had something more important to handle. Lisa asked what that was. Chen took out a stone sling and said he'd show her how it worked later. He explained that by the time he returned, he needed her to train a stone sling team. The scene shifted to the next morning, with Chen heading toward the giants' territory alongside Huang Shu, Hector, and Tina. He was even singing to himself, but Ayun glared at him furiously. Seeing that, Chen got nervous and wondered if Ayun was deliberately walking behind him, just waiting for another chance to ambush him. But there was nothing he could do. This had been Lisa's decision. What happened last night was simple. When Chen tried flirting with Lisa, she snapped at him to stop teasing her. Then she asked why. If he needed 3 companions, he hadn't chosen people from the Coconut Grove clan or Bay clan. Chen said he wanted Hector along because he'd seen his fighting skills firsthand. As for the beach outpost, Stonebone would manage it for now. Lisa said she didn't care who else he chose, but insisted that she had to go with him. She said she'd only feel safe if Ayun stayed by his side. Lisa stepped closer and assured Chen she'd already punished Ayun harshly over the last incident, so he had nothing to worry about. Back in the present, Chen was still on edge. Ayun walking behind him kept his anger simmering and his nerves tight. At this point, Chen clung to Huang Shi like a lifeline, convinced that if anything happened, only Huang Shi could pull him out. Huang Shi murmured that it felt like someone was watching them, then brushed it off as probably just his imagination. Hector asked Chen if he knew there was a lake up ahead. Chen nodded, saying Sam had mentioned it before. Hector laughed and guessed Sam must have seen the giant too, because when he was little, he once watched it swallow a leopard whole in an instant. He added that he'd been lucky to survive seeing it as a child, and this time he hoped for a real fight with the lake monster. Chen was dumbfounded. How was running into a creature like that considered lucky? He told Hector monsters like a lake beast didn't interest him much. He'd only be excited by something even stronger, like giants. That made Huang Shi flinch, and he nervously begged Chen not to wish for that. Chen said he was only joking, then asked if giants really existed. Huang Shi began explaining that before they met the king, their tribe had more than 30 members. Then one day, they ran into a giant, and the whole clan was helpless. Everyone scattered in panic. Though he was very young then, Huang Shi said none of the survivors could ever forget that horrifying sight. Now Chen finally understood why Sam and Ayu trembled whenever giants were mentioned. Hector cut in and warned everyone not to eat the nearby fruit. He tried it as a child and paid for it badly. Chen checked the fruit with his system and confirmed it came from poisonous plants. He figured the unfamiliar plants around them might all be useful, so he told the system to scan and identify them. The results stunned him. Every single plant had strong medicinal value. Chen was amazed. The entire forest was basically packed with medicinal herbs. Then he noticed something oddly familiar, and after checking it, he identified it as a cereal grass. Chen lit up at once, thrilled to have found grain seed, and soon received a side quest. Plant several kinds of grain in large amounts and successfully grow them within 180 days. Chen immediately thought they might finally be stepping into farming, and once they found clay, they could cook, make medicine, and more. Since the grain wasn't ripe yet, he decided to return later and harvest it then. Just then, Chen sensed something strange. It wasn't Tina's hostility this time. Huang Shi pointed something out, and Chen turned sharply, expecting danger. Instead, he found a leaf with tough fibers, perfect for rope, cloth, or even paper. He praised Huang Shi for spotting something so useful, already imagining better clothes. But Huang Shi clarified that he didn't mean the odd grass. He meant the noise behind the bushes. When Chen looked over, a hyena was stepping out from the brush. He guessed the pack had been tailing them all along, and the eyes they'd sensed earlier were probably these hyenas. Realizing they might be back for revenge, Chen told everyone not to let them go and urged them to wipe out the threat. The fight began. Hector charged in furious, determined to finish the hyenas this time, but Ayun suddenly got surrounded, with 2 or 3 hyenas lunging at her. Hector rushed over and saved her with ease, telling her not to thank him. It was his job. Then the hyenas started falling back, and Hector laughed that it was a pity they were fleeing. Chen immediately shouted for them not to let the hyenas escape because he was sick of being ambushed again and again. They gave chase, but Chen quickly realized that even with 2 extra agility points, he could barely match their speed, so keeping up was unrealistic. Then an eerie silence hit behind him. When he turned, he froze. Ayun had been seized by some unknown plant monster. Chen wondered what it was, and after checking, learned it was a crimson king flower, a huge herb that secreted corrosive mucus and actively hunted nearby animals for food. Chen was stunned. It was a man-eating flower. First saber-toothed tigers, then giants, and now this. The primitive age was getting further from anything he understood. Ayun tried to stab it with her bone knife, but the weapon slipped from her hand and dropped into the flower's mouth, where it dissolved at once. The sight left everyone horrified. Chen yelled, demanding to know why Huang Shi and Hector were just standing there, and ordered them to save Tina. Huang Shi shot back that they weren't refusing to help. They'd also been caught by the creature. Chen immediately started hacking at the flower's vines, shouting for Ayun to hang on until he reached her. Ayun cried out, telling Chen to forget her, save Hector and Huang Shi instead, and run. Before he could get there, the man-eating flower swallowed her whole. Rage flooded Chen, but he forced himself to focus on saving Hector and Huang Shi first. Then, to his shock, hyenas attacked from behind as well. Hector helped by hurling something at the hyenas to drive them back, warning Chen not to come closer. It was a trap laid by the hyenas. Huang also shouted for Chen to run, saying he could still escape alone while they stalled the pack as long as they could. Even so, Chen kept struggling against the vines, realizing they weren't especially fast. The hyenas were just exploiting the distraction. Then he noticed they were near a patch of dead trees. Betting everything on it, Chen pulled out flint and struck sparks onto the wood, setting it ablaze. In his mind, no creature existed that couldn't be solved with a proper fire roast. The vines caught fire, and Chen managed to drag Ayun from the flower's mouth. As soon as she was out, he anxiously asked if she was alright and could still move. They still had to save Huang Shi. Tina's dress had been ripped apart in the chaos, so Chen gave her his royal robe to cover herself. Once everyone was freed, they ran. As they fled, Chen kept tossing flintstones at dead trees, setting more of them on fire so they wouldn't have to fear hyenas chasing from behind. Then Chen spotted water ahead. He shouted for everyone to keep going and jump in. The water would protect them. But one hyena was still chasing Ayun and was about to pounce. Seeing the danger, Chen told her to watch behind her and sprinted over to save her. The hyena attacked him, but Chen managed to hold it off. Hector and Huangshu were tense, unsure how to help. Chen shouted for everyone to keep running because the fire was spreading fast. He promised he'd be right behind them, though he worried he might not wear the beast down before the flames reached them. Then an arrow flew out of nowhere and hit the hyena, killing it on the spot. Chen turned to see who fired and was shocked. It was Tina. He realized her archery talent had awakened, then asked Ayun if she knew how to use a bow. Ayun said she'd learned by watching him earlier. She added that she'd twisted her ankle and had little strength left, so she couldn't escape alone and they should save themselves. Chen shouted that she was talking nonsense, then hoisted her onto his back and ran. Hector yelled for Chen to hurry. Their time was running out. He even asked Huangshu if he wanted to move faster by carrying him with his strength, but Huangshu refused. As Chen kept running, Ayun suddenly said she'd planned to use this chance to accuse him. Had he arranged the bull attack on the Coconut Grove clan? Chen asked why she'd think that, and Ayun replied that she knew he would deny it anyway. She said the bulls that entered their land had already been wounded, yet their weapons couldn't pierce such thick hides, so who hurt them? Chen's people were unusually good at handling bulls, which only deepened her suspicion. But she knew suspicion alone wouldn't persuade the queen, so she chose assassination instead. Ayun pressed her bone knife to Chen's neck and asked if she struck now, he wouldn't be able to stop her, right? Or he could just dump her in the fire and end the problem forever. Chen only told her to hold on tight. They were almost at the edge, and afterward, she could do whatever she wanted. Ayun agreed to let it pass for now, but said she'd keep watching him. She warned that if he ever betrayed Lisa or the Coconut Grove clan, she'd kill him. Chen asked if that settled it, then accepted the terms. Ayun grew even more annoyed that Chen stayed so stubborn and still refused to confess. At last, they leaped into the water and escaped the fire. Only then did Chen realize that with two injured companions unable to move well, they'd have to delay the search for the giant. He told everyone to head back to the place with all the plants. They needed more of those herbs. The scene shifted to some time later, when Huangshu was hugely relieved after applying the medicine and feeling the pain fade. Chen told Huangshu and Ayun to rest, while he and Hector gathered more herbs. While collecting them, Hector suddenly caught the scent of hyenas and wondered if it had lingered from the earlier fight. Then Chen spotted several baby hyenas ahead and realized the pack hadn't been out for revenge. They'd only been guarding their young and reacting to a threat. Seeing a chance to tame them as hunting dogs, Chen gladly accepted the quest. As they were leaving, a roar suddenly thundered nearby. Ayun asked what that sound was, but Chen recognized it at once and tensed. They couldn't be this unlucky. A bear stepped out from behind the trees, and Huangshu cried out in terror that it was a man-eating bear. Chen quickly weighed their options. With two injured people, outrunning it was impossible, so he ordered everyone to circle away and retreat while he kept the bear busy. Hector and Ayun tried to object, but Chen barked at them to follow orders and stop arguing. Chen snapped that they'd only slow him down. They had one shot to live, so they needed to follow his orders. He told Hector to get Ayun and Huangshu out safely. Then Chen charged the bear while the others fled. In an instant, he was standing face to face with the beast. Chen struck first, but the bear countered, flinging him through the air and leaving him lightly hurt. Hector saw it and immediately panicked. He urged Huangshu and Ayun to take the baby hyenas back while he went to help the king. Huangshu shouted for Hector not to interfere. He'd already seen just how terrifying Chen's strength was. To him, even the toughest enemy couldn't beat Chen, and staying would just restrict Chen's movement. So Huangshu insisted they follow Chen's command and leave. Meanwhile, Chen realized that last hit had fully drawn the bear's focus. His plan now was simple: drag the monster away, then escape. He taunted the bear into chasing him, and once it lunged after him, Chen sprinted the opposite way from the others to keep them safe. After opening some distance, he figured Hector and the rest were far enough away, so he prepared to shake off the bear and slip away. But then something attacked him from behind. Chen narrowly dodged and wondered what was coming at him now. For a second, he thought it might be some giant rat monster. Instead, to his shock, it was the same saber-toothed tiger he'd battled when he first entered this world. Even the tiger seemed startled to see Chen again, but the reunion ended fast when the bear caught up. Now Chen was in real danger. He knew he couldn't handle both their power and speed at once, so he considered using Pangu's power. But he also knew the cost. He'd be weakened for a long time and might even black out for days. Worse, even if he survived the tiger and bear, the giant stone clan could strike while he was helpless and finish him off. As the bear and the saber-toothed tiger closed in on Chen, he kept trying to reposition, hoping to make them clash with each other instead. Suddenly, the system flagged extreme danger and triggered emergency escape mode. For 600 seconds, Chen gained 20 agility and converted strength into stamina stamina. But afterward, 33% of his 3 main stats would be permanently cut. The moment it activated, Chen felt a completely different surge of power. He sprang into the air, dodged both attacks, and made the bear and tiger slam into each other. Chen was stunned by how light and explosively fast he had become. Even so, the bear and tiger kept chasing him. That made Chen uneasy as he ran. Why weren't they fighting each other? After a while, he finally shook them off. Still, Chen felt a little regretful. Emergency escape mode was incredible, but the price was brutal. Then he noticed he'd run all the way to the snowy mountain, so he decided to use the time left to look for the giant. With a single stride, he covered an astonishing distance. He was thankful for escape mode. Without it, the deep snow would have drained him fast. When he reached the summit, Chen finally spotted a figure and wondered if this was the legendary giant. The moment he saw it, the system announced the task was complete and gave him the reward. But the giant quest had a second step now. Attack the giant to earn 10 attribute points. Chen was instantly annoyed and wondered if the system had gone crazy. Just then, one of the giant's pets picked up on something, and Chen hurriedly hid where he was. Still, the reward of 10 attribute points was too tempting, so he decided to test it by moving as fast as possible. He grabbed a stone and hurled it at the giant. The rock flew over slowly, tapped the giant, and was so tiny the giant didn't notice at all, but the giant's pet noticed it and began growling, sensing trouble. Chen was thrilled when the task cleared, and he got the 10 attribute points. However, the system immediately revealed a third stage. Defeat the giant alone for 100 attribute points. Seeing that, Chen wavered. A reward of 100 points was unbelievably tempting and could completely change his situation. He hesitated over whether to try. While he was still thinking, the giant grew annoyed by its pets growling, slammed the ground, and barked at them to be quiet. That single blow blasted snow into the air and buried Chen under it. His senses went numb for a moment, making the giant's overwhelming power painfully clear. Chen muttered that not even 10,000 attribute points were worth dying for. The scene shifted to evening, a few days later in the newbie clan camp. Lisa asked the Coconut Grove girls what they'd found on night patrol, and they apologized. They hadn't found anyone. Lisa ordered them to widen the patrol range and keep searching. Ayun grimly said they should prepare for the worst, fearing Chen was dead. Lisa immediately shut her down in anger, reminding her that Chen had risked his life to save all of them. Then a boy from the Bei clan came running in, shouting that their king had returned. As soon as Chen entered the territory, everyone rushed over, worried about his condition. Mia stepped up and noticed Agun was with him. She asked why Agun hadn't lit the beacon sooner so they could have rescued Chen, but Agun said King Chen had ordered him not to make a big deal of his return. Right then, Lisa arrived and yelled for everyone to stop crowding him and let Chen go rest. She grabbed Chen, sent everyone back to their posts, and declared that she'd look after him for now. She also warned that if anyone leaked the news, they'd face harsh consequences. That scared everyone into agreeing. Inside the house, Chen said he was relieved Sam and the others had returned safely, and admitted he hadn't expected them to bring hyena cubs back too. He asked Lisa to let Sam raise them, since Sam might need extra help when going out alone later. Lisa snapped that Chen should worry about himself first, and no matter how capable he was, he still had to take care of his body. Chen said the injuries weren't serious. He was just worn out and would recover after sleep, though he still wanted to handle tribe business. Lisa pressed a leg onto his stomach and slowly slid it downward. Fine, she'd informed Sam, but reminded him that as king, he didn't need to do everything himself. More than that, she said she didn't want to lose her man. Then Lisa suddenly stepped on his sensitive spot, making Chen stiffen and beg her to move. She finally pulled back and told him to rest. Chen was left stunned, realizing Lisa was getting more and more domineering. After Lisa stepped outside, Leng Guchui asked how Chen was doing. Lisa replied that he was fine, just needing rest, so she wasn't letting anyone disturb him. Later, Chen opened his system screen and happily saw that even after losing 4 attribute points, he'd still gained 10 overall. To him, the trip had been worth it, but he also realized that high strength with low agility was useless in emergencies. Agility was crucial for survival, so Chen raised agility first. The system showed it had reached 5 points, hitting a threshold. To raise it again now cost double. Chen wondered if pushing agility to 10 with double points would hit another threshold, then double again, then quadruple after that. If so, reaching 22 agility wouldn't be easy at all. That made Chen wonder whether every stat had thresholds. To test it, he decided to push each attribute to its current limit first. When Chen increased his stone attribute, a violent sensation tore through him, like his body was about to burst. His shoes and pants ripped apart as his frame grew larger. He realized only 2 more attributes remained to max at their threshold points. Exhausted, Chen lay on the bed thinking his next points should also go toward hitting another threshold. Then he fell asleep. Sometime later, everything in the newbie territory was running smoothly. Lisa was teaching everyone how to use slingshots. She even demonstrated, hitting 6 targets, grazing 1, and missing 1. Then Chen showed up out of nowhere and praised everyone for doing so well on their first try. Lisa saw him and immediately demanded to know why he was there after she told him to rest. Chen replied that he felt completely fine, but Lisa noticed his new pants, suspected he'd been with another woman, and was ready to punish him. Chen hurriedly explained that his clothes no longer fit because his power had increased, practically begging her to drop it. Lisa then told him the slinger team had been formed, though becoming truly skilled would take time. Chen asked how Huangshu and Ayun were doing and whether their injuries had healed. Lisa said Huangshu refused to stay in bed and act like a burden on the tribe, so he went to the Anwater to Huangshu, so there was nothing to worry about there. She added that Ayun worried her more, since Ayun's injuries were lighter. Maybe because Lisa had scolded her before, Ayun had been in a foul mood. Chen told Lisa that Ayun cared deeply for her and silently carried a lot, so Lisa should treat Ayun a little better. After that, Chen said he was going back to rest, because in a few days, he needed to head north to harvest those valuable millet plants. He also planned to keep working on his inventions during that time. The scene shifted again later, with Chen having prepared a number chart from 1 to 9. He planned to teach simple addition and subtraction next. For creating written language and numbers, Chen earned 20 attribute points. Then the system showed his technology points had reached 100, and a new technology shop had opened. It let Chen trade technology points for useful tools and heritage plaques, though exchanged items couldn't be returned. The system then displayed a full catalog of items and resources available for him to buy with those points. Excited by all the options, Chen studied the list and prepared to choose his first item. It really makes you wonder what he'll exchange for first. As for future trouble, whether from the giant Stone clan or growing tension with Tina, that could add plenty of tension to the story. So let's see how it plays out. Stay tuned for more on the channel. After the tech store appeared, Chen checked the inventory and spent 30 technology points on an iron cauldron. It was a solid bargain. He chose it not just for cooking, but because it was iron. Strap it to his back and it worked as armor. Fasten it to his forearm and it became a shield. But its real value was in a life or death moment, when it could help kill an enemy. Chen was so thrilled with the purchase, he barely noticed the noise it made. Hearing the clatter, Liu Tang worried about his king and went inside. There he found Chen doing a baffling dance around the new object, leaving him utterly confused. Trying to cover himself, Chen claimed he was communicating with gods and spirits. Still, it was time to use the cauldron properly. He dug a pit by hand, leaving space for smoke to vent and firewood to feed the flames. Then all he had to do was set the cauldron over the fire and boil water. To his surprise, the system counted that as progress and rewarded him with 10 more technology points, which was encouraging. Long ago, Chen had learned many things from a professor he admired. He just never imagined he'd actually use that knowledge. Once the water boiled, he added the main ingredients, seafood in this case, and began making fish soup. He stirred everything together well. The system granted another 10 points for creating a new cooking method. So for Chen, today's meal tasted twice as good. Just then, Stonebone walked in with good news. They had finally produced salt by evaporating seawater in the salt field, earning even more points. And with salt now available, the food tasted far better. As a reward, Chen let him taste the experimental soup first before sending him back to work. The points he just spent on the cauldron came back quickly, making it his most profitable exchange in quite a while. After the taste test, Chen told Liu Tang to gather the rest of the tribe and have everyone bring their own bowls. It was the first time they had tasted fish prepared this well, so the new flavors caught them off guard. Luckily, there was plenty, and everyone could even have seconds. Mia was one of them. After 2 bowls, she still wanted more. Ayu worried someone else might go without, but Chen assured her there was enough for everyone, and if not, he could simply cook more. He still needed another batch for the guards and patrol teams anyway. The people at the outpost had to taste it too, so in a few days he planned to bring them fish soup himself. He loved teaching the tribe new things and seeing their happiness. That was why he decided to teach them wooden chopsticks too, so they could eat roast beef like civilized people. Meanwhile, as bowls clattered all around him, Chen opened the technology store again to look for another useful item. He had already saved up 100 technology points, so trading them for something new made sense. He immediately ruled out the math and farming stoves. They weren't needed. What he really needed for planting was valuable seed, something the tribe still hadn't managed to gather. Unfortunately, he was interrupted just then and told that a trap in the north had gone off. There were no signs of people nearby, so it was likely just a beast, possibly still alive. Lisa's sudden arrival surprised him, but her usual harshness solved the issue fast. She told the guards not to trouble the king over something so minor and to just kill the beast. She was annoyed that Chen had been too busy to think about her, so she came herself. Only now did he have to calm things at home. This time, he promised to bring back something new and create more changes for the tribe. He sealed that promise with a kiss, which left her flustered, then turned back to the trapped animal because instead of killing it, he might be able to tame it. So he left the remaining work to Lisa. The nettles Huangshu had brought earlier were already gone, so they needed to collect more. More importantly, they had to find precious millet whose grains could be planted in the fields. As they headed for the traps, Chen kept searching for seeds, but found nothing. At last they arrived, but the area around the trapped beast was strangely quiet. When they peered inside, they were stunned. Not long ago, the animal had been howling desperately for help, but now it only snarled in pain, its leg pierced and throbbing. It was another hyena, drawn there while searching for food. One look made it obvious she resembled a mother pig. Sam, especially sensitive to the smell of milk, instantly recognized that she was nursing. Most likely, this was the mother of the hyena cubs. Feeling responsible for those cubs, Chen climbed down toward her despite the danger of her claws. After wrapping her in rope, they hauled the animal up with ease. Weakened by the wound, the hyena had become almost as docile as a pet dog. Now her care fell to Sam. Chen told him to save the animal and feed her. It didn't sound like an easy job. The hyena cubs they had caught earlier refused every bit of meat he offered, so he had no idea what their mother would eat. Sam kept trying to find the right food, but the cubs only grew thinner and weaker. Just as Chen suspected, raising baby hyenas was far harder than it first seemed. Still, the mother being trapped might end up saving them. As soon as they got back, Chen ordered the adult hyena tied up, fed meat, and brought to the cubs. That should help them, so Sam hurried back to the tribe at once. Chen could only hope the wild beasts would grow used to home and allow themselves to be tamed. After that, Chen sent the warrior to inspect the remaining traps while he and the others continued farther north. The farther they went, the more wild animals they saw. Luckily, his plan worked. They found wild millet that had just ripened. Had he waited only a few more days, they might have lost the crop, so this luck felt like a gift from the gods. And since there was still time before heading back, Chen decided to start gathering medicinal herbs too. It might have been their most productive day in a long while, with resources piling up before nightfall. But at dusk, the larger beasts woke up. The bear's loud cry was familiar to Chen, so he ordered everyone into the bushes. They fell silent at once, trying not to reveal themselves, but the animal moved fast and within moments was already close. In that kind of danger, they could have dropped the millet and herbs weighing them down, but Chen forbade it. He refused to waste such valuable resources and told them to wait until the beast passed. No one argued. Still, everyone shifted into positions that would let them run instantly if needed. Staying alive mattered most for the tribe. To Chen, the pose looked so ridiculous he nearly laughed. But the bear roaming nearby might still be their old acquaintance. Unfortunately, once the bear's cries faded, the group relaxed too much and started whispering foolish questions, which irritated Chen. To shut them up, he warned he'd throw them straight into the bear's mouth if it came back because of their noise. But his loud threat actually reached the beast, and it started coming toward them again. The bear roared wildly, slamming into tree after tree, unable to stay on its feet and constantly collapsing. It had probably hurt itself badly and couldn't calm down, so Stonebone suggested catching it for dinner. But they weren't the only ones with that idea. After a stranger's shout rang out, the bear lurched up and fled from the hunters in the opposite direction. This time, it was being chased by people from the mountain tribe, the same ones Hector wanted revenge on. Driven by that hatred, he sprang from the bushes and ran after them. That reckless move nearly exposed everyone, but Chen yanked him back into cover. With a loud rustle, they hid again, though the noise caught the attention of a man from the mountain tribe. Fortunately, they ignored the distraction and stayed focused on the prey. Hector, however, couldn't understand Chen's decision. He thought they had the perfect chance for revenge, yet Chen stopped him. But hatred couldn't be allowed to cloud his judgment. The enemy outnumbered them badly, and attacking now would have been reckless. Chen's only advantage was that the enemy stood out in the open while his group remained hidden in shadow. If Hector wanted a fight, he had to wait for the right moment, so for now, he had to obey. Meanwhile, the bear was completely spent and collapsed in the middle of the clearing. One of the men chasing it openly mocked the animal and kept forcing the poor beast back to its feet again and again. But the mountain tribe's leader disapproved of that cruelty. The bear had eaten venison laced with poisonous white flowers, then been wounded in the stomach. After all that, the fact it ran this far was astonishing, so it deserved a proper death. Humiliating it like that was beneath a man, so as punishment, the offender was hurled into a tree. The chief then ordered everyone away from the clearing while he prepared to give the bear a quick, though still painful, end. For that, he intended to use an obsidian blade made from natural volcanic glass. That detail about the bait also caught Chen's attention. Very few primitive people would think to poison bait like that, so their intelligence surprised him. But the system opposed killing the bear and ordered Chen to save it. That meant risking a clash with the mountain tribe to rescue the same beast that had just tried to kill him, completely ridiculous. Still, the system had already anticipated Chen's outrage. If he rejected this rare mission, it would never return. The system left him no time to weigh it, and Chen accepted despite the danger. Remembering every insult he could think of, Chen cursed the system as he moved toward the target. That fury gave him the push he needed to stop the obsidian blade. The moment Chen appeared, he wrecked the entire spectacle the chief had planned for his warriors. By daring to seize the tribe's prey, Chen's group put themselves at risk and enraged their enemies. For now, Chen chose to trust the system, hoping the bear's gratitude would justify the risk. The instant he accepted, the system issued a side mission. The bear had been poisoned with common dope and stabbed in the stomach. Chen had 10 minutes to stop the bleeding and counter the toxin, or it would die. When he accepted, Chen had completely forgotten about the poison. Thinking fast, he realized the mission was to save the bear, not start a war with the mountain tribe, and a direct clash with them was the last thing he wanted. But there was no time to bargain for a peaceful exchange. At the same time, the enemy chief recognized the boy who had recently visited the sea tribe. His dismissive attitude infuriated Hector. He hadn't even remembered his name. Hector ground his teeth, just waiting for permission to attack. Chen ignored the exchange. He was too focused on the system alerts, which kept warning him about punishment. If he failed, the system would shrink the parts of Chen's body tied to reproduction by half. Even for it, that was brutal. Chen instantly imagined Lisa leaving him behind with nothing but harvested millet. He refused to let his reign end like that, so rage took over and he showed the enemy his strength. Chen was ready to die saving the beast, but he wouldn't drag the others down with him, so he told them to protect themselves. With that, the fight finally broke out. Everyone threw themselves into protecting Chen while he worked on the bear. Luckily, he stopped the bleeding in under a minute, but that was the easy part. Next, he had to neutralize the poison, something he had never dealt with before. The bear's treatment rested entirely on Chen, and with him out of the fight, his team started losing ground. The battle could easily end in death. Everyone had taken serious wounds that kept them from fighting properly, yet they still held on so Chen could finish. Then the mountain tribe chief suddenly called a stop. He actually liked Chen's group. For a band of wanderers thrown together recently, they had fought impressively well. As a reward, he offered to spare their lives if they withdrew. Hector refused. Revenge burned in him, and he wanted to settle old scores right now. As he put it, they were only warming up. Evening or not, they still had plenty left. The others backed that bravado to intimidate the enemy and reassure Chen while he struggled with the poison. Meanwhile, the system's treatment deadline was vanishing fast. Chen had 6 minutes left and still no idea how to neutralize the toxin. Whatever the others said, he could see even Stone Bone was barely staying upright. If this dragged on, the mission would fail. He could almost hear the system laughing. But to save himself, Chen was ready to make a fool of himself if needed. Meanwhile, the enemy chief accepted their refusal and dropped into a threatening knee bend. He drove so much force into it that his foot striking the ground sent out a massive shockwave. No one had seen anything like it and they froze. Fortunately, Chen saved them. Sacrificing his own weapon, he smashed through the wave and kicked up a cloud of dust. He had wanted to avoid fighting the tribe, but now it was clear he had to step in. That only made the chief more curious. Now he wanted to know what tribe could oppose them so boldly. He had dismissed them as wanderers, but clearly he had judged wrong. It wasn't his style to crush a tiny group with an army, so once he heard what he wanted, he let them go. Instead, he promised to face Chen another day with equal numbers on both sides. The mountain tribe chief was pleased to have met him today, so he withdrew with a show of nobility, taking the wounded along. That included the man he'd hurled into a tree for mocking the bear. He was in such bad shape now that others had to carry him, so Chen's newly formed tribe managed to avoid disaster. Now only one problem remained, purging the poison tormenting the bear. While Chen treated it, the mountain tribe couldn't understand why their chief had willingly surrendered the prey. To them, it made no sense, but the lack of ginseng explained it. They relied on that plant to strengthen themselves. On top of that, the supernatural power granted by their sorcerer was nearly spent. Chen was no simple opponent. He had blocked a strike powered by 70% of the chief's strength. Seeing Chen still so calm, the chief became sure he was hiding something. His weapon also looked strange and far too sharp for such a weak tribe. Studying his obsidian blade, the chief vowed to give his all in their next encounter. Meanwhile, Chen asked the rest of the team for ideas. Unfortunately, none of them knew how to counter dope poison, so they could only watch. Some still asked why he was saving the bear at all. They thought it was just prey they had fought over, but there was no time to explain. All they needed to understand was that this had become a life or death crisis. The system left him one final attempt, so Chen used honeysuckle and burdock. Both herbs were known to fight poison, though no one knew whether they'd work on dope. They forced the beast's jaws open and stuffed in everything they had prepared. Chen spent the remaining time holding his breath. Waiting for a miracle, every second dragged. Only in the final moments did the system finally send notice that the bear's condition had stabilized. With the bear out of danger, they could finally breathe again. Only Hector kept insisting they should chase the mountain tribe before it got far. Like a wise king, Chen explained that no one yet knew the full strength or tricks of the enemy force. If they rushed in blindly, they'd take massive losses for no reason. Even a miracle victory would be Pyrrhic. Chen refused to waste his people on revenge. Since the mountain tribe would come to them eventually, he needed time to plan and build strength. After making that clear, he sent the others back to the village while he stayed behind to watch the bear. Stonebone was to tell the queen to reinforce the patrols and post sentries while those visitors were on their way. Alone with the animal, Chen found the night unbearably long. Predators kept coming for the bear's scent, and he had to drive them off again and again, so Chen spent the whole night fighting wild animals. He was amazed they tasted this good and happily ate the roasted meat. Near dawn, the bear woke too and turned toward the smell of food. Chen offered it a bite while they still had time and kindly handed over a piece of meat. Unsure whether the beast ate cooked food, he also left a separate pile of raw rabbits just in case. By the time the fire burned out, Chen and the wild beast had eaten their fill of game and settled down to rest. Then the system announced the mission was complete, awarded sympathy points from the bear, and offered to assign them immediately. Chen put those points into physical strength first, raising it to a critical level and turning himself into a true powerhouse. He was pleased with the reward, and while he enjoyed it, the bear offered him part of its own food. That was its way of showing loyalty, so Chen accepted and shared the meal with it. Now fully healed, the bear should have gone its own way, and Chen hoped they'd meet again someday. But the animal had other plans. It quickly grabbed Chen's clothes and made it clear it wanted to head to the settlement with him, stubbornly pressing for a yes. A beast that size would eat a lot, but having a bear as a companion could greatly raise Chen's status. So despite its clumsiness and limited usefulness, Chen took it along. He gave the bear the name Shunda, granting it an official place in the tribe. Grateful, the bear happily leaped at our hero to hug and lick him, then followed along. Now with a powerful helper at his side, Chen could track the mountain tribe and scout their route. Riding atop Shunda, he easily followed the trail the enemy had carelessly left behind. But the farther they went, the denser it grew, sign of only one thing, a bamboo forest ahead. Bamboo wasn't just useful for building, it could also serve to make firecrackers. All he needed was the right mix of nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal packed into a bamboo tube, a perfect container for the powder. If they managed to make firecrackers, they might catch the enemy off guard in a decisive battle. Even if the blast proved weak, the noise alone could terrify the tribe and send them fleeing. Chen already had saltpeter and had learned to make charcoal in a kiln, but sulfur was still a problem. That mineral usually formed only around volcanoes, so he pulled up the system map to narrow the search. Just as he suspected, a volcano sat near the glaciated giant. If he stayed far enough away, he could risk checking the sulfur there. Last time, Chen had only been focused on escaping and ignored the surrounding resources. But with Shunda beside him, this trip would be much easier. After running through the plan again and again, he finally told the bear to head north to see something amazing. They sprinted off at full speed and soon reached the same lake where Hector and Sam had been. Studying the area, Chen told Shunda he had passed this way before. He hadn't had time or interest to explore back then, but now he could make up for it. As they neared the lake carefully, both stayed quiet, waiting for the sea monster they'd heard so much about, but nothing surfaced. Chen was about to move on when Shunda suddenly stiffened and backed away. At the same instant, bubbles burst across the lake, signs of something enormous below. Then a massive head rose up, roaring as the rest of its body followed. It was a true Tyrannosaurus, scanning for easy prey. Only a snapped rope trailing from it suggested the beast once belonged to someone. This T-Rex was the last thing Chen expected to find. He and the bear dropped low in the grass, tense, judging the monster's size. The collar around its neck hinted it might be the giant's pet, escaped while its master slept. If so, then the creature that scared off the saber-toothed tiger and left huge tracks in the forest was probably another T-Rex like this one. And if that was true, the mountain giant had been asleep for at least 15 days. Either way, wasting their best chance to get out would be foolish. So the moment the beast turned away, Chen told Shunda to run for the mountain. The bear obeyed, carrying him deeper into the snowy biome. But the snow thickened with every step until they had to stop. If anything triggered an avalanche, there'd be no escaping it. Just to be safe, Chen climbed off Shunda, which clearly worried the bear. In truth, he planned to walk behind him and cover him if danger appeared. To reassure the bear, Chen told him to stay cautious and watch the surroundings. Bringing Junda had been a smart move because each sweep of his powerful paws flung snow aside and exposed the ground beneath. Then Chen caught a sharp smell he knew instantly. He started searching for the source. The deeper they dug through the snow, the stronger the burned match stench became. It took a lot of effort, but he finally uncovered a sulfur deposit, something that could decide the coming battle with the mountain tribe. Chen was thrilled by the discovery, because with this much sulfur, they could start making firecrackers tomorrow. After gathering as much as he could, Chen loaded it onto Junda and headed home. As he passed the first houses of the settlement, Sam rushed over, genuinely glad to see him. What no one expected, though, was the bear at his side. To stop any panic, Chen introduced Shunda and told everyone not to hurt him. At first, the tribe struggled to accept a wild beast among them, but before long, everyone wanted a turn riding it. Chen could have allowed it if the bear agreed, but he refused to let Shunda be bullied and promised to find another beast instead. Once the supplies were unloaded, Chen asked Ayu to dry the bamboo without explaining why. Then he turned to Lisa, who was boldly examining the bear up close, impressed by such a powerful animal and proud of Chen. But that happy moment ended quickly. Right after returning, Chen received bad news. A giant sea monster had appeared near shore, thrashing about and stopping the fishermen from working. Its body churned up waves huge enough to smash all the salt drying on the beach, leaving the fishermen helpless. After hearing the urgent report, Chen calmed the messenger and went to the beach himself to inspect it. Riding Junda, he reached the sea within minutes, where broken crates floated among the surf. The creature was an ichthyosaur, a large predatory marine reptile shaped like a fish, aggressive by nature and egg-laying. It was still in a developmental stage, around 7 meters long, and bent on destroying anything alive nearby. Its behavior alarmed even Chen, but no one was willing to let it rampage freely. If they didn't stop the ichthyosaur, it would keep wrecking things and dealing heavy losses. To beat it, they needed to lure it onto land, where the reptile would lose half its strength. After stating the plan, Chen drove Junda toward the surf and attacked the reckless ichthyosaur. The first hit sent the bear crashing onto the beach, but it also exposed the monster's belly. At the last second, Chen leaped clear of Junda and buried his axe in the reptile's flesh. That only enraged the beast further, and it twisted around, clamped Chen in its jaws, and dragged him toward deep water. The ichthyosaur shot for the seabed, trying to keep him from reaching air. Chen realized he'd drowned long before the monster actually ate him, so he used all his strength to force its jaws apart. Meanwhile, Shunda kept chasing after them, and before the reptile got too far, he grabbed its tail and hauled it back toward shore. The bear had understood Chen's plan and followed it, but the struggle was still brutal. Between the ichthyosaur's crushing jaws and the lack of air, no ordinary person could have endured it. So it was no surprise Chen started to lose hope. Then from the dark water, a woman appeared and saved him. With twin daggers in hand, she slashed down the ichthyosaur's body and forced it to release Chen. Blood spread through the clear water, turning it murky red and hiding the girl from view. Starved of oxygen, Chen's limbs slowly went numb, leaving him unable to swim back. In his last clear moments, he could only think about the girl moving so skillfully through the sea. When Chen opened his eyes again, he saw Junda on the yellow sand, anxiously watching over him with the rest of the tribe. After coughing seawater from his lungs, Chen noticed his rescuer sitting on a rock and asked Alana to come closer. She was the sea tribe's best swimmer, often hunted in the ocean, and knew exactly where to strike the reptile to kill it fast. Everyone knew the sea tribe wasn't famous for sharp minds, but compared to the others, Alana seemed especially dim. Still, since she had saved his life, Chen ignored that and sincerely thanked her. What interested him now was where she'd gotten those obsidian daggers. She explained that she took them from a bad man who had entered their tribe's territory. Alana answered quickly, but then suspected they wanted to take the blades away and nearly started a fight. That was avoided once they explained Chen's role in the settlement, and she finally calmed down. She couldn't remember everything about him, but she did understand that he wanted to help the sea tribe. Once convinced he could be trusted, Alana described the day the mountain tribe suddenly invaded their land. She was knocked unconscious in the fight, and when she woke up, her brother Fang and the others were trapped in a cave. They were worked mercilessly, forced to do the filthiest jobs, and once they had enough, Fang came up with an escape plan. He would attack a guard and pass the weapon to Alana, who had to cut the rope and leap from the cliff into the river. Fang believed it was the only way to save her, so he ordered her to follow his instructions without question. If it worked, she was supposed to find Hector first, the lucky one who was expected to survive. With Alana's combative nature, she never would have lasted in captivity, let alone devise such a plan, so Fang sent her to someone he trusted. Right then, a guard noticed their suspicious behavior and came over to punish them for disobeying orders. That carelessness cost him dearly, because Fang struck at that exact moment, using the carcass they were being forced to haul to the warehouse. Once the guard was pinned, Alana grabbed his weapon, jumped into the water, and swam downstream. That's how she ran into the giant monster attacking Chen and then reunited with her fellow Sea Tribe members. After hearing her out, Chen suggested she go to the camp where Fang had planned for her to meet Hector, but Alana refused to return empty-handed. Since the ichthyosaur was dead in the water, they would bring it back. They loaded the reptile onto Zunda and dragged it along the sand, leaving a long trail behind. Halfway there, they unexpectedly ran into Hector and Stonebone, who had come to meet their king. They certainly hadn't expected Alana to be with him. Her story took time to tell, but Hector now knew about 10 more Sea Tribe people were still being held captive. They had to be rescued before the mountain tribe started torturing them, but charging in without a plan would be too dangerous. Chen spent a long time trying to calm Hector, but then smoke on the mountain caught his eye. It was a signal fire warning of danger on the western mountain. No animal, no matter how clever, could light a beacon on a mountaintop, so Chen immediately grew wary. And for good reason. The mountain tribe's leader had promised revenge when he left with his prey, and he wasn't likely to forget it. It looked like the mountain tribe had come, but to be sure, Chen needed to check the border himself. He immediately ordered Stonebone to escort everyone else to the fortress while the warriors assembled and reinforced the defenses against any attack. Hector and Alana were sent to the western mountain to meet the patrol and hide in ambush by the traps until Chen arrived with support. As he sprinted back toward camp, he prayed the gods had shown mercy and the signal fire had been lit by mistake. Luckily, Lisa was already outside waiting for him. She'd been restless over the monster fight on the shore, unable to sit still as she imagined one disaster after another. The moment she saw he wasn't wounded, Lisa finally relaxed and offered to scout ahead while he rested. Chen refused. He appreciated her concern, but the signal fire still gnawed at him, and even with the warriors beside her, she wouldn't be able to restrain Hector if he snapped and charged the mountain tribe leader. So he chose to handle it himself, taking Huangshu, Languke, Sam, and Ayu, fighters who had already proven themselves many times. Lisa stayed behind to oversee the settlement's defense and the wounded. Sam had recently found a hill with a clear view, so if danger came, she could move with reinforcements. Chen didn't want more people, but Mia insisted. She'd never been allowed to come before, and if refused, she swore she'd follow anyway. Once his orders were settled, Chen placed Liu Tang in charge of guarding the queen and headed west at once. By the time they reached the others, dusk was settling in, something that could work in Chen's favor. In that dim light, traps were far harder to spot, and so were the hidden positions of each warrior. But the mountain tribe had anticipated that. They advanced slowly with torches, making no effort to conceal themselves. As if he sensed the danger, their leader halted the tribe right before the killing zone. He seemed to know Chen was already there at the border, waiting for them, so he called for him to step out and fight fairly. No one understood how he was so certain Chen was present, yet no one broke cover. Then the leader calmly revealed how he tracked people. The area was unnaturally silent. No birds, no beetles, no frogs. Only a large group lingering nearby could scare the animals from their hiding places and expose an ambush. Even then, Chen's side stayed hidden, forcing the leader to switch from taunts to threats. The chief disliked using Chishan Zhao's power, but he hated this game of hide-and-seek even more. That was enough. Chen finally stepped from cover, ready to face the enemy head-on. It turned out the mountain tribe was surrounded from every side, putting them at a clear disadvantage. Still, the chief seemed pleased that the numbers on both sides were equal. Raising his obsidian blade, he eagerly challenged Chen to a duel, glad that this time he could fight without worrying about appearances or dignity. But just as Chen expected, Hector didn't waste the chance to avenge the sea tribe and lunged the first moment he could. He cared nothing for honor or rules. He struck shamelessly from behind. They were only a few steps from a brutal clash, but the mountain tribe warrior stopped him cold. Muzi threw himself into Hector's path, driving into him with all his strength. Like two stubborn rams, neither gave an inch in raw power, and both carved a trail through the ground behind them. At first, Muzi seemed outmatched. He was slightly smaller, but he made up for it with far greater agility. The chief was delighted, praised him for the save, and told him to enjoy himself with Hector. In the end, Muzi gathered himself and hurled Hector into a rock, sending a tremor rippling across the ground. The force of it startled even Chen. Until then, Hector had never lost to anyone, so Chen was deeply alarmed by what he was seeing. At that same moment, another enemy warrior passed beneath one of the traps, and Yu released a huge log hanging from a tree by rope. The strike was powerful enough to flatten an ordinary man, but he shoved the log aside as if it were nothing. That second mountain tribe warrior showed such absurd strength that Chen momentarily forgot the entire trap plan. After being smashed into the rock several times, Hector started coughing up thick blood. Muzi meant to finish him quickly. He had no intention of losing to some newcomer, but Hector slipped the next blow. He was every bit as stubborn, clinging to life to the very end. This time, Hector locked onto him with a death grip and dragged him toward the water. There, Hector held a major advantage, and Muzi knew it. He drove his feet hard against the ground, desperate to break free, but only wedged himself in place. At that moment, Alana burst from the river and struck from behind. With Muzi pinned, it should have been easy for her to stab him in the back, but the mountain tribe refused to let that happen. They grabbed their comrade and hurled him at Alana like a projectile, knocking her back into the water. The mountain tribe was so savage they'd even charge into terrain that disadvantaged them, so Alana had no choice but to fight the stranger off in the river. And while all that chaos unfolded, the twin brothers complained to their leader. He'd promised them fun, but Muzi and Zuihao had started without them. They didn't care who they fought, and the first target they spotted was Chen, standing there watching his warriors struggle. The twins instantly rushed in his direction, eager to finish him as fast as possible, but Huangshi and Lang Gucui intercepted them. If they wanted the king, they'd have to get through the other warriors first, which delayed their fun a little. The twins split the opponents between them and vowed that whoever lost would bear shame forever. Grinning like madmen, they hurled themselves into battle, ready to risk their lives just to bathe in enemy blood. Meanwhile, Xuehao watched the battles raging around him and couldn't decide whom to help. Fighting was all he knew, so to aid the newcomer's victory, he simply went looking for a weapon. He didn't have to search long. A log was lying right in front of him, and he casually tore it free from the rope before swinging it over his shoulder, ruining the trap in the process. Armed with that massive log, he charged toward the leader, who was dueling Chen. The chief clearly didn't like Xuehao stepping in, so he brusquely ordered him to find someone else. Somewhat disappointed, he obeyed the command and went searching for Muzi, but Muzi was already tied up with Hector. Chen understood at once that Hector, in that condition, couldn't survive two opponents, so he immediately moved to help him. But the mountain tribe leader cut him off. He swung his blade with full force across Chen's path, forcing him back and making it clear he had to focus on him. The chief was enraged that Chen kept dismissing him and acting as if he weren't there, so he attacked again and again. Each sweep of the obsidian blade came for Chen's throat, aiming to take his head, but Chen's axe kept beating the savage strikes aside. Snarling, the chief slashed wildly and warned Chen not to lose focus. He wanted to see his real strength and begin a true war between kings. Chen realized he wouldn't get away from this duel easily, and there was nothing he could do for Hector for the moment. So he turned to heavier measures and shouted for someone, anyone, to stop Xuehao. At that moment, Xuehao dragged the log across the ground, gouging a shallow trench as he advanced on Hector second by second, but still hadn't reached him. Then suddenly the log became too heavy to lift, forcing him to glance back. Just as she'd promised, Mia had joined only after Chen gave the order. Now she was clinging to Xuehao's weapon. As for sheer strength, she couldn't match the others, and Xuehao gave her a quick once-over, then lunged with those thick arms. He meant to grab her by the throat and yank her close, but an arrow suddenly struck his arm, only piercing the outer layer of skin. A second arrow followed at once, aimed straight for his face. To shield his eyes, he raised the same arm that already served him as living armor against blows. He looked thrilled by this turn of events. Now he had two playmates at once. Seeing that delighted expression, the chief allowed the uneven fight to continue. If Xuehao didn't mind, then he could enjoy himself however he pleased. Once they returned to the mountain, he'd be alone again anyway. Meanwhile, Sam and Yu tried to protect their allies' backs, firing at whatever weak points they could find. While Chen and the others fought a bloody battle up close, they had to do everything possible from afar. But the bear trap Yu had used before failed against Xuehao. Not only did he stay standing, he even yanked her down by the rope. An enemy like that could only be countered with brute force, yet they couldn't abandon the ambush. All All they could do was stall him while Sam ran back to camp for reinforcements. And as Ayu tried to turn the battle with whatever she had on hand, Hector kept pressing Muzi. Muzi fought to break free, hammering Hector's back with his fists, but it did nothing. Every blow forced a deep, bass-like burst of air from Hector's lungs. Unfortunately, the strikes were so heavy that blood started pouring from Hector's mouth, yet he still refused to stop and kept forcing Muzi toward the water. Trying to end it quickly, Hector gathered all his strength and lifted Muzi off the ground. He sprinted for the river, eager to see how well the mountain tribe could swim. Hector was only a few meters from victory when Alana suddenly stopped him. She begged him not to enter the water. It was too dangerous. The man thrown at her earlier was still in there, attacking anything nearby. To prove it, hands suddenly clamped over her head and dragged her under. That instantly put Hector on edge, but that brief panic cost him a few more bruises. Muzi kept striking every exposed spot, leaving red welts across Hector's gray skin. Repeated blows to the same places caused internal bleeding. At last Hector collapsed, yet even from the ground he refused to let Muzi go. Pulling his last strength into one fist, he suddenly hoisted Muzi up and hurled him over his back, trying to smash his head against the ground. The hit was devastating. Blood streamed from Muzi's forehead, and he blacked out on the spot. Hector wasn't much better. He dropped beside him, trying to steady his vision as everything blurred. Racked with pain, Hector left the rest to his tribe and hoped they could win. At the same time, Langu Chui and Huang Shi faced the twins. They'd prepared a new trick and were eager to test it on the mountain tribe. To pull it off, they split to either side and charged in sync. Xiao Hu only laughed wildly, amused that the rookie tribe thought it could attack them. Seeing Langu Chui lag behind Huang Shi, the twins struck him together, trying to break their formation. They didn't hold back, using the dirtiest attacks they could. So within seconds, Langu Chui clutched at his eyes. Huang Shi wasn't about to stand by. He rushed in to help. Rather than keep beating a blinded man, he told them to find someone who could actually match them. Then, without hesitation, he hurled his hunting axe forward and buried it in one enemy's shoulder. Now the fight was even. Both sides had a wounded fighter. Weaponless, he knew he couldn't handle someone with an obsidian blade, so he raised a small shield instead. That drew all attention to him, but it was only part of the plan. Even while fighting, he counted steps to signal Langu Chui when to strike, but the shield failed him. The enemy slipped in close and stabbed him in the stomach, leaving just 2 steps before the attack point. The twins had no idea why he was counting, but when only 1 step remained, they finally understood. Huang Shi seized the twins' arms with all his strength and pinned him in place as Langu Chui launched the second phase. One clean swing of the axe should have killed the bear, so they were sure they'd won. Xiao Hu didn't grasp it right away, but the moment he saw Langu Chui above him, terror hit and he fought harder to break free. That was when his brother rushed in and shoved him aside, putting himself under the falling axe. Green grass slowly turned red as Xiao Hu watched in horror. Meanwhile, Ayu did everything she could to help Mia. Shui Hao was painfully slow, so her arrows landed perfectly, but his skin was so thick he barely felt them. His arm looked like a porcupine's back, though the arrows had only sunk in a few centimeters. This couldn't continue. Mia was struggling just to stay upright while the log whipped around in every direction, so Ayu had to find another way in. Luckily, the same rope used earlier to yank away the log lay nearby. Ayu knew Mia would catch the hint, so she started firing arrows toward it. Everyone in the tribe knew she never missed in the middle of battle, so Mia instantly ran for the rope. At that moment, Shui Hao grew uneasy when the resistance vanished and thought they didn't want to play anymore. But that idea didn't last long. Mia played along as if entertaining a giant child, calling to him from behind while she looped his legs into a tight knot. For a while, he enjoyed watching her circle him, but then his head slammed into the ground and snapped him back to reality. Mia had put everything into dropping him in one move, and she celebrated the win. Several fighters had already decided their battles, but not Hector. He'd barely had time to rest when Muzi rose again. Admitting he'd underestimated Hector, who had nearly killed him, Muzi still refused to quit. Then something happened that no prophet could have foreseen. The giant log Shui Hao had been swinging came flying straight into Muzi's head, knocking him back into the Valley of Dreams. At that point, Hector was ready to admit his brother Fang had been right about his luck, but the battle still wasn't over. The leaders kept fighting for their tribes. Again and again, they drove each other back. The struggle dragged on so long that both men's arms began to go numb. Chen knew he couldn't endure another blow, though his enemy was in no better shape. Seeing the mountain tribe leader falter, the witch's servant brought him red leaves. On her orders, he was to use the herb, even if he hated winning that way. If he burned them, the chief could return home safely, while the servant would hide from the smoke in the water and stand guard. The witch had warned of the consequences, so the servant urged him to choose wisely and avoid defeat. Chen immediately understood. He meant to cast aside restraint, strengthen his body with red ginseng, and use Pangu's power to meet the mountain tribe as an equal. Red ginseng would have been a huge advantage against the newcomers, yet the mountain tribe leader still hesitated to use it. The witch had probably read his character well, which was why she told her servant to carry the herb for any crisis. Still, no one rushed to light it. Chen couldn't let that chance slip. He swung his axe with full force, sending out a shockwave strong enough to topple several trees behind the leader. The servant survived only because he barely noticed the strike in time and leapt away. Once he felt Chen's eyes on him, he knew he couldn't hesitate anymore. If the leader wouldn't ignite the ginseng himself, then he would. Snatching up a torch, he grabbed the leaves he'd dropped in fear and moved them toward the fire, already imagining how the battle would end. But the leader stopped him. With one slash, he cut the stick and snuffed out the flame, fully aware that this might anger the witch. When the servant demanded an explanation, the chief said he didn't believe him. The witch likely had given no such order, so he told the servant to go back and deliver his own message. Clenching the leaves in fury, the servant could hardly believe this insult. The road back to the witch wasn't long, he warned, so the chief should expect punishment. Chen watched the entire exchange in silence, even as his destructive power kept rising despite the drawn-out fight. In truth, he could barely stand. After battling the ichthyosaur, he'd had no time to recover before rushing to the border, and now even his Pangu power was nearly spent. His vision swam. Chen knew he couldn't keep this up much longer. He'd be lucky to land even one more hit, and after that, he'd surely pass out. The soldiers weren't in any better condition either. Their strength had long since run dry, and they could no longer support their king properly. All Chen could do was trust his own strength and pray the next blow landed. If not, the mountain tribe leader could wipe out the whole settlement with ease. Yet that wasn't Chen's only concern. If the chief had burned the ginseng, victory would have been certain, but instead he argued with his servant and threw the leaves away. It looked absurd, almost irrational, and no matter how Chen turned it over in his mind, he found no answer. Better to use his fists than waste strength thinking. As long as any strength remained, he had to seize the chance and finish the leader quickly. Again and again he attacked, trying to knock the man out, but the leader kept resisting and matching his steps. The chief seemed delighted to face a warrior as strong as Chen and goaded him to reveal everything he had left. Only after both were worn down did he finally notice Chen's wounded arm. Sure, he hadn't caused those injuries. The leader guessed Chen had performed some sacrificial ritual to gain his strength. That made the duel even more fascinating, but everyone knew it couldn't last much longer. The leader was near exhaustion too. The divine power granted by the witch was fading fast. Unable to dodge the next strike, he chose to move first and attack. He wanted the result settled fairly, and promised that if Chen lost, he would spare the small tribe. It was an honest, noble offer, and Chen appreciated it, but he didn't need mercy. With a wild scream, two completely opposite forces crashed together through their weapons, triggering an explosion so violent it left a crater where they stood. At that point, no one could guess how the war would end, so they simply waited for the dust to settle, and for some miracle to appear. Only then did the warriors notice the crater in the rock where the mountain tribe's bloodied chief had fallen. No one had strength left to speak, but they all understood the same thing. The newcomer tribe had reclaimed its land. At that very moment, the bindings around Chen's arm snapped, and a wave of unbearable pain tore through him. If it had struck even a little sooner, he likely wouldn't have beaten his opponent. The Pangu power had helped him enormously in the fight, but using it brought consequences unlike anything before. In the end, his legs finally gave out, and he collapsed against Ayu, who refused to let her king fall after winning. At the same time, they heard the queen crying for help in case the witch's servant came back. Chen's strength was draining away, and he could no longer lead the army, so he handed all command over to Lisa. Right before blacking out, he remembered Alana, who had fainted in the water, and ordered Ayu to save her no matter what. The entire time Chen remained unconscious, the people assigned to him earlier took care of him. In his absence, Lisa managed the tribe capably, and returned to the common house only at night to see him. But when Chen woke today, he found her half undressed, so he pretended he was still asleep. He didn't want to embarrass her by looking, but when she sat on his bed, he nearly lost control. She traced her fingers over him for a long time, studying any reaction, and when she'd had enough, she calmly told him she knew he was awake. Lisa had no intention of waking him properly. She wanted to toy with him a little, which only made Chen more flustered. He immediately opened his eyes and tried changing the subject, pretending he was only worried about the tribe. Unfortunately, even bringing up Alana failed to stop Lisa as she leaned closer and closer to his face. As she put it, this was hardly the moment for questions like that. Teasing him, she guessed he could barely move and threatened to test exactly what he was capable of in that condition. Honestly, Chen had imagined a moment like this for a long time, just not like this. He'd pictured himself giving everything and proving his stamina to everyone, but Lisa's stubbornness ruined that fantasy completely. In the end, he accepted that she would take control, shattering his image of himself as a fearless king. Then the system dropped a brutal surprise, a quest called 7 Times in a Night, based on the idea that a leader must be strongest in every way. Worse, one of those 7 rounds had to last at least an hour, with 5 nuggets offered as the reward. The prize sounded tempting, but the punishment killed any enthusiasm. If he failed, the protagonist would be forced to change his orientation. Reading it again, Chen couldn't imagine finishing the quest. He still hadn't recovered from fighting the mountain chief, and his arm was a wreck, so death felt more likely than success. The conditions were so absurd, they felt like a boss fight where the hero chooses suicide before the final hit. After thinking it over, he realized the system had given him a choice, so he decided to ignore the quest and wait for it to vanish. What he didn't expect was that silence counted as consent. Crying out in anger and trying to shove Lisa away, Chen cursed the system and every one of its idiotic quests. This might have become the worst day of his life, because he wasn't even allowed to rest. All he could do was hope someone interrupted them, or that Lisa would pity him and return to her duties. And then, as if fate itself stepped in, Shunda burst in, smashing half the house apart and snatching Chen away. He'd never been so grateful for a kidnapping. Even even if the system still didn't cancel the quest. Still, when the protagonist told the bear to stop, it acted as if it hadn't heard him at all. Shunda carried Chen deeper into the forest, and he started thinking he'd soon become dinner. If he'd known how this ended, he might have stayed with Lisa. Accepting his fate, he endured the pain of Junda's teeth until she dropped him in front of a cave. He had no idea why he'd been brought into the forest or what they wanted from him, so he looked around carefully. Then, after the bear let out a howl, 2 cubs came out of the cave and happily greeted their mother. Until that moment, Chen had never imagined Junda was female, so he was shocked that she was also raising cubs. At the same time, the system sent a new quest. Under their mother's influence, the 2 cubs were ready to join his settlement, and he had to decide whether to accept them. He didn't hesitate for even a second and took them in, giving the settlement dependable future protection. In a few years, the cubs would grow into full warriors for the tribe. After confirming the request, he checked the population count. It had risen by 20, and the military strength now came to 68 out of 98 people, while the remaining 30 belonged to 3 man-eating bears. Once the total passed 90, the system issued a new main quest. Chen had to expand his territory to 10 square kilometers and recruit more than 300 people within 6 months. It had been so long since the last main quest that he might have forgotten without the reminder. The reward made him genuinely happy, but that hardly mattered when the task itself was so difficult. Still, there was no backing out. It was time to speed up warrior training and teach the rest of the tribe how to farm. With 3 man-eating bears on his side, Chen could worry a little less. The settlement now had solid protection. Riding with Shunda, he watched the cubs for a while and, out of boredom, decided to give them names. That pleased the mother bear, who perked up her ears to listen to Chen's ideas. Most of the names he considered didn't suit future beasts that would one day rip enemies apart, so he settled on the best options he had. He named the brown cub Shun and the red one Shun-san. They didn't understand the words, of course, but sensing their mother's approval, they nestled beside her. Either way, the quiet days were almost over, and soon he'd be buried in work again. Studying the system map, Chen was pleased to read details about nearby tribes and started planning an invasion. The map was incredibly useful. He hadn't even gone near the western camp, yet he already knew about the terrain, guard posts, and traps. Over the next 2 days, Chen planned to teach some newcomers basic farming, then head out on reconnaissance with a clear mind. But for now, he just wanted food. After the battle with the mountain chief, he still hadn't gotten to taste the ichthyosaur meat and hoped they'd saved him some. To his surprise, no one had touched the reptile without the chief's permission. The whole village knew Chen was their best cook and had waited for him to recover. 3 days passed like that. His time to rest was ending, and the protagonist finally had to pack for a trip to the neighboring tribe. For the journey, he took a bear with him, now using it more and more as a mount. At last, Ayu and Lisa came out to see him off and wish him luck on the scouting trip. He left the cubs with Huang Shi, who was already caring for the hyena cubs. He also told Lisa to keep an eye on the warriors so they wouldn't kill each other with the new catapult, and he left Alana under Ayu's care. Unfortunately, she still couldn't fully remember recent events and needed close supervision. All of that mattered so much to him that Lisa got sick of listening and hurriedly shoved him out of the house. Even so, he remained worried about Ayu. She had planted the millet exactly as instructed, so the fields were fine, but she still looked gloomy. The truth was, she didn't want him going on the mission at all and begged him to send her to the foolish mountain tribe instead. After hearing her out, Lisa reminded her that whatever enemy appeared, a bear would be with Chen, so worrying would only make things worse. Thanks to Lisa's firmness, the protagonist managed to leave without more fuss, putting the queen in charge. But from that moment on, Lisa became much more cautious around Ayu. The girl paid far too much attention to Chen. She began watching Ayu's shameless behavior day and night. But Lisa wasn't simple either. The moment she finished saying goodbye, she summoned her trusted spies and ordered them to follow Chen. Last time, the bear had practically stolen her husband, so now she intended to learn the truth and make sure he really was heading out to scout. Either way, it would be best if she never discovered the secret cabin in the forest. Meanwhile, Chen suddenly started sneezing like mad. With cold air hitting his exposed skin, he couldn't tell where the draft was coming from and blamed it on his wound not being fully healed. He kept moving until he reached a steep mountain he had to circle around, losing extra time. While the bear searched for a way up, Chen studied the terrain. If he'd had the chance to settle on a mountain, he would have done exactly what the mountain tribe had, using height as a perfect defense. There were several routes to the top, enough to send the main force head-on while another group attacked from behind. But while he was still planning the assault, border guards spotted the huge bear and came out to confront him. Trying to calm them, Chen introduced himself and ordered them to take him to their leader. Last time, they had been the ones to arrive with war. Now it was the hero's turn, but they refused. They let him go, claiming the leader was too busy to see anyone. Otherwise, they warned, they'd attack. So far, Chen had stayed polite, but these savages clearly had no manners at all. Gripping his axe, he weighed whether to strike first. Then the prisoners behind them caught his eye. He clearly remembered hearing that captives wore chains, but these looked different. Among the strangers, Chen recognized the mountain tribe's former chief and Muzi, neither of them carrying loads. The sight baffled him, so he sent Junda over. The guards parted to either side. Chen couldn't imagine what could reduce a leader to this, but their explanation revealed the tribe's rules. They had a witch who stripped losers of divine power, automatically turning them into slaves. So the old chief was no leader now. A stronger man had taken his place, and that was the man Chen now had to deal with. As if summoned by the gods, the new leader appeared on the mountain after Chen heard the story, staring down at him with pure arrogance. He wouldn't even come down to defend the tribe himself, sending soldiers to handle the intruder instead. The tribe was savage and unruly, yet surprisingly, they already knew how to use harpoons. They ran the steep cliff with ease, their feet used to rough ground, which gave them a clear edge in battle.